that they're signed up.
We don't have a map?
Yeah, I do. But I don't want to be on call. Right now, underneath you guys.
That was tripping and falling.
It's just a dry.
It's okay. We're okay. I won't go near anybody else.
No more water for Erica.
It's over here. It's not in.
Erica, she's the record.
Oh, yeah. That's what it is. I offered it's mine. It's mine. I couldn't do it.
That she's right?
I did.
What's up, man? Rich. You're pretty good. Yeah.
Well, it's 7 o'clock. Now it's time to say goodbye.
Thank you. No, that's good. I appreciate it.
Can we please stand for the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One sheet.
Let me just.
I would like to advise those present that notice of this regular meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken has been provided to the public in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meeting. Notice of this meeting Thursday, November 9th was given by publication of the annual meeting notice of the authority with amendments as necessary was sent to the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger on Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. Was sent to the city clerk of Hoboken on Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, with a copy of the agenda to be posted on the bulletin board in City Hall, Hoboken Library, and Hoboken Police Department, and posted on the authority website on Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. I direct the minutes of this meeting to state that I have announced that adequate notice of this meeting has been given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Roll call, Jeff?
Roll call. Anthony Forbes. Andrew Impastato.
Present.
Aaron Lewitt. Here. Barbara Reyes.
Here.
Michael Russo.
Present.
James Sanford. Erica Seitzman.
Present.
So we're going to be in a public portion. As you guys know, you have 5 minutes during public portion. I just ask that everybody please be respectful, not only to the commissioners, to the staff and the director. And as you may notice, the court clerk is not here in person. She's online. So she has asked me to ask you to all please spell your first and last name when you come up to the microphone. Mr. James Ladson? Ladson? Is he not here?
Recording in progress.
Adelaida Torres?
Buenas noches.
Hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Puede decir su nombre y su apellido?
Adelaida Torres.
Adelaida Torres, sir. Sarah, do you need me to spell it for you?
Yes, please, if it could be, could you spell it?
Sure, it's Adelaida, Torres, Torres.
And if she could just speak directly into the microphone, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, por favor, hable directamente al micrófono. Frankie, you want to help her with the translation? Usted puede hablar en español y él va a ayudar a la traducción, ¿ok?
Frank, you speak into the microphone. then.
Ok, se vamos a cambiar, señor. Usted me dice, yo lo voy diciendo en inglés.
Okay, yo vengo por el motivo de que me llevaron el carro de parking. Yo tengo todos los papeles, que yo tengo carro registrado. Yo soy una mujer enferma, necesito mi carro. Yo es la hora que yo no podía sacar mi carro. Y que se van a hacer, porque yo tengo todo registrado en los papeles, que el carro está registrado.
She is here, her car was towed. She's explaining to us that she has all her paperwork for the car to be registered, and that her car was towed. She's sick. She hasn't been able to take her car out. She had a procedure, I believe, at the time, and her car is still in the pound as of right now.
But they took it on the 30th.
Y se lo llevaron el 30.
El día 30, the 30th
Estaba
of...
supuesto, si van a sacar el carro, estaba supuesto ser el día primero. Y el 30 ya se me llevó mi carro.
Director, is there something would you like to?
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, we've had our ads out for registering your car for over a month. And,
Until the 31st.
yeah,
You know, I know we don't do back and forth, so I don't know if we're,
Yeah.
I happen to
You can
know
say something.
information, I
Go
don't know
ahead.
if,
Commissioner asked us.
her car was parked, usted lo movió el carro cuando
Yo
llovió, cuando la
cuando
lluvia,
llovió, lo
¿verdad?
puse para la esquina
Lo
para
puso
allá.
allá. That car was sitting there for over 30 days. That morning, we towed 4 cars from that lot, not her car. We towed 4 cars that had not, we looked at the cameras, cars who had not moved. Whether, we weren't looking to see if you were registered, we were looking to see if the car had moved. So these vehicles had, on top of it, were not registered. I know that you say that you're registered, but you don't have the new sticker, right? You have
Yo
the,
tengo
you have the new
sí.
sticker?
Sí.
The green one?
No.
No, right. You have the old one,
Un
right?
año creo mejor.
So she did not come to register her vehicle yet, and I'll walk you through that, and we should register your vehicle. But her car was towed not because of registration, it was because it had not moved for more than 30 days. She did come to the office to ask me if she could speak with the director. I did speak with the director, and after the director heard that we towed 4 other cars, the decision was made that unfortunately we were not gonna, because if either you pay for the car to get it back or we pay for the car to get it back, and unfortunately the cars that were towed, that's how. So I do understand what you said to me when you came.
She's trying to explain it to you right. She's trying to tell you that the car, the papers that they put for us, is stated that you had until the 31st.
Margie, let her.
No,
fight
she
her
don't know
battle.
how to
No,
explain
because,
it to
well,
you.
I know exactly what happened with her, and it has nothing to do with
Me
her
too, you're not
registration.
explaining to them that they took it on the 30th, not on the 31st, on the
But it
30th.
wasn't towed because of registration. It was towed because the car had not moved for more than 30
All right,
days.
so let me ask
Right.
a question. So what is the,
2 weeks
what,
for a registered car.
no, I understand.
No.
What is the process of her getting the
We
car
had a car
back?
here for
What is the
4
cost
years.
of that? What's the next steps for her, so we understand what she
So,
has to do? and
I
then
can
how can
certainly,
we help if we can?
I can certainly speak with our tow company, and, you know, if we are agreed upon, maybe there could be something that she could get a discounted price to let the car out. But even at the day that she was there, it would have been 1 day's worth. Obviously, I know that she made the choice to wait for a decision, which is what's made the clock run, right, and more. But yes, at this point, we can still talk to Lopez, we can make a decision, but at this point, there's a dollar amount that has to be satisfied to release the car.
So her car was towed because of a policy that the housing authority has, that if it's left there for more than 2 weeks and you don't move it, it has to be moved.
So,
It has to be towed.
No.
as you know,
There's
that
nothing, now, this just happened to happen at the time where you guys were recertifying the registrations for the new year.
so, and exactly, because we were about
It
to
had
now,
nothing to do with the registration.
right, and because
And
we were
where is that in their
parking policy, that's part of the lease.
part of the lease?
Yes, so if she had a registered vehicle from last year, which she says she has a registered vehicle, I believe she does, part of that package is your parking like regulations, and one of them is a car must move. You can't leave a car in a spot.
When's the last time that you towed a car?
No, so because we just did the re-registration of everybody, we had not been towing inside the lots. The only place we ever towed for the last year and a half has been the yellow. We went through the registration process, which took over a month of announcing nixles, door to door, and they were supposed, so now, on the very last day, what we wanted to do is look at all the cars that had been sitting there, and we towed a lot of cars that had just been sitting there. She just happens to be the only car, of all the cars that we towed, that came to the office to complain because of a real thing. I'm not saying that you didn't have a real thing. She had a medical situation which she had not informed to us, right? So had we known that, we may have been able to say, listen, she told us that she's in the hospital, we couldn't do that, right? So,
Okay, so let's get to
Yes.
a resolution.
yes,
So what is normally a tow? How much is normally a tow from the lot?
I think it's $250 per day.
No, not storage, the tow.
75?
No,
The
500.
tow's gotta be one fee, and then the storage per day is probably a different fee.
I
Yes.
don't have that from
So
me.
it's about
So let's find that out.
Councilman, I can answer that. But it is $200 for the tow and it's $50 per day.
Okay,
Uh-uh.
so let's see if we as an authority could have a conversation with our vendor to help on the storage fee for the daily stuff. And then maybe figure out how we could help on the tow.
The only problem is that, how many cars got towed?
That day, at least 4.
If you do it for her, you're gonna have to do it for all. She's the only one that's complaining.
She has the ones may not have been registered, which is probably why they're not.
Nadie complain, pero hacen, cuando yo me parqué ahí, yo me parqué al lado, hace 2 años y medio que ese cajón está ahí y no lo movió. Y porque yo estuve 2 semanas, y yo soy una mujer enferma que estaba enferma arriba.
The car that was parked next to her had been parked there for over 2 years.
2 years.
I agree that the cars next to her were parked for a long time. She was parked there for a month. And I do.
They both got towed.
They both got towed.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. We have the information.
Yes.
Why don't we figure this out offline so that we can continue with the meeting and then kind of take it from there. Director,
Yes.
do you think that would be problematic for us to have that conversation with the?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I think Frank already suggested it, and I think we should do that early next week, come on in Monday, Tuesday. We'll have that conversation with the towing company, see what we can, kind of discount we can get, and see what we can do for it.
I like that.
I want to.
Okay. Lo que vamos a hacer, van a hablar con la compañía, a ver qué negocio nos pueden dar de lo que van a cargar por día y lo que van a cargar por el toyo, entonces vamos a ver qué es lo que podemos hacer. So it's not a promise, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
So we're gonna continue the conversation, and we're gonna talk with you, we're gonna talk with the director, we're gonna talk with the tech company.
Sí, pero aquel día tú no me quisiste dar ninguna explicación y por más que yo te explicaba.
No.
tú
I
me
took your
quisiste dar la
information and I
explicación.
did give it to the director. Director, I asked you about this specifically. I brought it to the director. I didn't ignore you. So,
¿Sabes qué me molestó de ti? Que no me miraste ni los papeles que yo te enseñé de las citas médicas que yo he perdido en estos días por no tener mi carro.
señora,
¿Ah?
pero eso, nunca me dijo esa parte.
Sí, te la dije, porque yo llevé pruebas ese día y usted ni miró los papeles. Pues yo aquí tengo todos los papeles de mi plan médico y de todos los revolus que yo tengo de citas
So what
médicas.
she's
Que yo he
talking
perdido,
about
que he tenido que
is,
pagar taxi, he perdido de todo.
what she's talking about is paperwork that she was showing me that day that she had a procedure. It was never a conversation that I can't get to doctor's appointments because we would have figured out either through Hopes or through the police a way to get. That conversation was never had. You did tell me that you had a procedure, that's why the car had been there, so.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to seem like I'm trying to cut you off. I just don't want you to air out
Yeah.
your medical stuff here.
Right.
It's not the appropriate place. I think having the conversation offline is a little bit better, and let's see if we can come up with a solution for that.
Okay. So, estamos en lo mismo. Vamos a sentarnos con el director. En la semana que viene vamos a llamar a la compañía y vamos a hacer eso.
And I'd like to be clear that Frank did bring it to me, we did talk it over, and because her car was just like the other cars that are parked there, we decided not to move on it. But with her coming, we'll reevaluate when you come in this coming week.
Y tengo otro complaint también.
Can you?
Yes. She has one more complaint.
La bañera mía está llena de mojo. Yo soy una mujer diabética y enferma. Mojo, no mojo el negro ese, el mojo brown porque está toda picotea por abajo.
¿Quién es su manager?
Yolanda.
Yolanda, ¿usted le avisó a Yolanda?
Todo, aquí tienen todo, y aquí tienen todo registrado, y tienen, la estufa me la tienen que cambiar porque donde va la adentro.
Déjeme explicarles a ellos. So she's complaining about in her bathroom, she says she has mold in the tub. I asked her if she had spoken with her manager, she said she did, so I'll follow up to see where that is. And she's talking about her stove as well. ¿Qué es el problema con la estufa?
La estufa, la parrilla, están llenas, cuando se calientan, vira la estufa, porque unos cogen para abajo y unos para arriba, y yo he tratado 2 o 3 veces ya de que me cambien la estufa. Me aprobaron que me iban a cambiar la estufa y ya hace más de 6 meses y todavía la estufa no me la han
She said
cambiado.
about 6 months ago she got approval to have a stove replaced, but she hasn't had it yet. So what I'm going to do, I have her information, we're going to follow up on the bathroom and the
Maintenance
stove.
come on Monday.
Okay. Eso va a ser para el lunes, señora. Okay.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Director, can you just go through the parking policy? I'm a little confused by that.
Well, I don't think I brought it in front of me today, but we get, just as background, we get many complaints from other residents that people are parked there, so they can't find a spot when they come. So, we do have a registration drive this month. That's in our parking policy. Now, you got to come in and give us your information on your car. It's allowed to have one car per unit, per apartment. You gotta come in, it's gotta be registered to you, for the person that's there. So you come in, you register it, we've got a sticker that goes on the back of your car, on the back of your rearview mirror, and there's a number of other things such as in that policy. We'll be glad to distribute it this way, but
Yeah.
a number of other things in there, like you can't leave it, you can't work on your car in our parking lots. You can't just have it out on blocks, that type of thing is addressed in that parking policy.
Now, the policy is 14 days not moved, it gets towed.
Yeah.
And how is that? Is there a notice put on the door, the window?
No,
or
we normally just go and get it.
You just go
Yeah.
and it says that in the policy?
Yeah, I don't know if it says that, at 14 days we won't give you a notice. I don't know if it says that.
So we don't contact the person and say, hey, your car is...
No, we do not. No, we do not, because we often don't know whose car it is. But we just...
Well, if it's registered, we do.
Yeah, but if it's parked illegally, we tow it. And that's the same on the streets on all those yellow lines.
Yeah.
We don't contact the person before we tow it. And that parking policy does have, you can't park on the yellow lines.
I guess the one thing we could do just to help is the ones that are registered, that we have their information, is we give them one courtesy call or contact.
Or a sticker.
City does. Yes. They give you a courtesy call.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, or a sticker.
I mean, on the city, you gotta move it every week for street cleaning. I don't wanna get into that, but $6 million a year that they collect.
Because I didn't know the city called before they towed any car, I didn't know they did that.
That for temporary no parking signs, they will give a call. And if you don't move it, then they
Right,
tell
they give you a reasonable amount of time. I mean, you're not waiting an hour for you to move your car.
So if we could put that
look
in a
into
few
that.
minutes, that'd be a nice touch.
If I may, that was one of the goals of the re-registration, because we had you were registered, right? You had the red one, right? Her license plate, her registration is a book in the manager's office. That's how we used to have it, right? Part of the new registration is now I'll have everyone's license, insurance, registration, plates in the system. So when the police call me or if there's an issue, I can actually look that plate up if you're a registered person. And yes, now I'll have your information. So that was part of the grab of the re-registration. So I don't see a problem with, especially with cars, not for regular tows, but for cars who have not moved, because the only way that we confirm this, we just go at the camera. We look at the camera, you return, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and the minute it's not there, we'll be able to say, okay, that car didn't move. If it's a registered vehicle that's in our system now, because now registration is complete, we'll be able to call that person and say, hey, listen, I'm gonna tow the car tomorrow. If you don't move it, then that gives them, and you can move it to the next spot. That's not even the point. We just need cars to move. They can't stay, if you have a registered car, you can't just leave it as storage. You can't. So many people, but I just wanted to kind of,
Yes, we will.
Yeah,
That's a good
perfect.
idea.
That's it.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Margie Beard.
Margie Viard,
Can you spell your name, please?
M-A-R, well, I'll give you my full name.
Margie, turn the microphone towards you, love. Sorry.
M-A-R-C-E-L-I-N-A, B as in boy, I-A-R-T as in Tom. Can I speak? Okay. I came here to complain in reference to the elevator. We're having so much problems with these elevators. These guys are coming over, charging you money, and then no sooner do they leave, the elevator is out. We get stuck. I have phobias. I don't feel like being stuck inside an elevator. I will appreciate it. Somebody gets this done right, because we all old people. There's a lot of old of us in this building, and we're scared to get into the elevator because the door, the first door, the front door goes this way, and the other one stays that way. So we're scared that it might fall down. We want somebody to do something about this.
My understanding, he was here this afternoon.
Yes, he was also here yesterday, and an hour later, the elevator was out of order.
But he left at 5 today.
Yeah.
So it's a machine.
Okay, but so you have it fixed, so if it messes up, well then you know what, change the people that are working, they're not doing their job.
And please feel free.
And I know there's a lot of us that hold the door, because I'm not gonna blame it all on the elevator. There's a lot of us that hold the door, and we keep forgetting that there are other people in the building that need to use the elevator. You can't hold it for nobody. Okay, now I finish. Now, you say that the policy is 2 weeks about the parking? You had a car parked here for 4 years. 4 years without being registered, and we kept on complaining. I kept on complaining. A lot of people kept on complaining. 4 years in that parking lot. They took that car out this year because the people came back from Puerto Rico. So there's not a policy of 2 years, of 2 weeks. And when she parked her car, the reason why she parked it there because it was flooded with water. She doesn't explain it because she gets nervous. But I knew the whole story. And I will say what I have to say for anybody that I have to stand up here because you know what? This is our home. And if we can't protect each other, we don't need your help then. You understand? And this is why she's going through all of this. So the policy of the 2 weeks, that's bull. That is bull. Because the car that was in front of her was there for 2 years. Where is the policy then? Where's the 2-week policy? Okay? Where's the 2 week? 4 years here. And everybody could keep, because they know it in the office. We complain. Why is that car there for 4 years? It hasn't been moved at all. They didn't move it at all. Nobody even came to take off the dust. You understand? And it's not fair because right now she's a sick person. And you're just going to come with the story that you got 2 weeks, a 2-week policy. That's bull crap. You said that to somebody that doesn't know the rules here. But that's bull crap. When you have a car for 4 years and 2 years, tell me where's the 2 weeks? Where's the 2 weeks? Because when the minute that we register our car, you have my insurance, you have my driver's license, you have where I live, and you also have my numbers. I always give both numbers. Both numbers. So you can get in contact with me because I don't know. I'm the one that's having problem every time I'm parking my car. Somebody's always in my parking space. Yes. I am so sweet and everybody here could tell you. That's every time I move my car. The other day I was calling, if they were going to send a tow truck. What happened? Before the tow truck came, the car moved. But I have to go through this all the time. And I've been asking for them to give us something that where we can call directly instead of waiting for somebody to call for us. If we have something, we show them this is my space. And this car is constantly, this is from across the street and from the building next door. This is, everybody could tell you, my car is so, my space is so sweet. Okay, come on. And if you're gonna say something here that is on paper, say the truth. Don't come up with these bull.
Thank you, Margie.
Some people can't get a pocket.
Ray Rodriguez.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Can you just say and spell your name for the court reporter?
Ray Rodriguez, RayRodriguez. Am I good to go?
Yes.
All right. So I'm standing up here with Immense Pride, and I would like to thank all the board members. Right now, we just launched our 6th Unleash Your Inner Warrior Women's Self-Defense Workshop. That was very successful. We sold out. We went on Eventbrite. We had a lot of women come out and take the class. They did extremely well. Some of the women got offended because I was pretty tough on them, and I don't know how it was supposed to be done, but I guess tough is supposed to be how it's supposed to be taught. But they enjoyed it, most of them did, and we had a successful class. This 28th of November, we will have our first ever, we're gonna be in the tree lighting event where 2 of my kids in the guitar class are gonna be performing. So great job, I guess I'm doing. We're also gonna be doing a lot more in the future. I enjoyed myself at the trunk or treat. Erica was there. I had a great time. My trunk was really full of candy, and the kids took more than a handful, which I didn't mind. In the future, I look forward to recognizing a lot of you guys for having me here. I'm now 14 years this October. October 3rd, we launched Homework Help. That has been going extremely well. We're getting a lot of volunteers to help the kids with their homework. We're getting a lot of kids to come in and do homework, which I'm very proud of. So soon I'll be acknowledging everyone here at the Hoboken Housing Authority. You guys, I'm so grateful for your support every time. I mean, I don't come out and talk a lot. I just come here, teach my classes, and I go home. I stood today a little extra time to speak to you about this because I have a 4-year-old that's homesick, extremely sick at home, and I'm glad you did this first. So right after this, I'm leaving. We're having our first annual award dinner soon, February 28th at the Hoboken Grace. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Hopefully everybody comes, okay? A lot of you guys are gonna be acknowledged. And I'm very happy that, I didn't say this, I said this to Barbara earlier. I'm very proud of your daughter. She's in my class. I don't know if you, today I came in, only reason why I came into class today is to give 8 kids their new uniforms. But now I'm gonna take my time to leave. But once again, I would like to stand here and say thank you again. I love you guys for allowing me to teach your kids, your grandkids, and so on. So I know I don't say this much, but thank you for allowing me to be here this many years, and hopefully I make more kids go to college. So that's my goal. God bless you. Thank you.
Madera y
Stop. MADERAEBELYN. Evelyn? Got it? Okay. I just want to ask 3 or maybe 4 questions. The first one is, a while back, you had security guards running the buildings. 8th and 9th Street are very, very active. And I would like to know how come there's no officers going around those 2 buildings. That's 1. 2, when I do call, they tell me that they don't have access to those buildings. I don't know why. I don't know why. Now, my next question is, there's a vacancy under me. And I would like to know, can somebody explain to me how did that apartment got taken over so quickly when the young lady just moved out of there? And the only thing that I asked, which my site manager answered halfway because she was not privileged to that information, so she never got back to me, is how can somebody get an apartment so quick in less than a month? That's 1. And 2, why am I getting a hard time moving from the top down? And the only question that I was asking was, whoever moves on top of me, are they going to be inconsiderate? They're going to make noise or what? Because I always stated, you pass policy in here, and the policies are never enforced. I mean, you pass policies not smoking, they still smoke. You pass policy not loud music, they still loud music. You pass a lot of policies from the state that is never enforced in housing. So, you know, it's who you want to pick on and who you don't. So far, nobody picks on me because I'm neutral. Congrats, Mike. So that's the only questions that I'm asking.
And I
So,
answer.
Whenever you could answer it on email or whatever, more happy, you know. Thank you.
What were the two sites?
You need another?
What were the 2 sites again, Director?
What sites, I'm sorry?
What were the 2 sites you said, please?
8th and 9th, 460 and 455.
Christopher Columbus Gardens.
Barbara, yes, Adrian Rowland.
Say who what?
You think they scratched it out?
Just state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please.
ADRIENNE RAWLINS. Working on cars is prohibited in the parking lots, yet it's going on every week. It's a joke. There's like 3 or 4 cars in different areas. People are under it, fixing it, changing a tire, doing this, doing that. No enforcement. And with the issue of outsiders parking in our parking lots, maybe if you informed the areas around the housing authority, here, 8th Street, Fox Hill, 220 Adams, 221 Jackson, letting their management companies know it's prohibited and your car will get towed, maybe that'll ease it a little bit. Highly unlikely, but. The Resident Advisory Board, it's been 3 years and I haven't seen anything go out for a nomination of new people, and because I'd like to apply again, because the first time I couldn't do it because it was COVID. And during COVID, there was no way on God's green earth I was going to knock on somebody's door, not knowing whether they had COVID or not, how severe it was, to protect my own self. So I wasn't appointed to the board that way, but it is what it is. And the meetings are supposed to be open to all HHA residents, housing choice voucher tenants, commissioners, staff, and other guests. These meetings are never public, they're never published. You don't know what's going on with the Resident Advisory Board or the Tenants Association. And that seems secretive to me. And it should be allowed. You have it right here on your website. So that needs to change. Because I have other residents who would like to be involved, but they can't because they can't get nominated or they can't get answers. I mean, it's here. And if it's supposed to be every 3 years, what are you waiting for?
We haven't done it yet.
Should have been done already.
We haven't done it yet.
But it should have been done already.
We haven't done it yet.
Why?
Because they
It's
haven't
been
given
3
us a date for our next meeting.
The housing authority, that's,
That falls on tenant.
yeah. It needs to be taken care of, and it's not that hard to schedule something. Look at the calendar, see what's available, get it done.
Tell us again.
Thank you. Is that all? So Director, I just want to kind of piggyback on what Ms. Rollins just said. She's absolutely right. There is a resident advisory board and a tenant association, which I had served prior to being on here. But those meetings are supposed to be open to the tenants, to all the tenants. And we all know here that that's not happening. That's number one. So I think that needs to change. Second of all is, we do need to be more transparent with what's happening in these meetings. Because I know we have individuals that do represent their sections, but there are sections that are not represented. And the truth is, how many of these people that are representing our tenants are actually going out there and speaking to the tenants and finding out, because that's what they're supposed to be doing as their individual is. I know here in this building, they're very engaged and they speak to each other and they knock on doors, but that doesn't happen in the family buildings. And I can attest to that doesn't happen. So I think that when these nominations do come up, that we need to make it clear that if you do want to serve on this board, that it's not just for you to gain whatever thing comes out of that, it's also for you to actually engage with the residents, your neighbors. You have to know what their issues are. You have to know what the problems are. And I don't think that is represented right now, or what is happening with our resident advisory board. And that's just my opinion as a resident here. So I just felt like, since Ms. Rollins brought it up, I think it's very important that when we move forward nominations, that we make this absolutely clear, that if you're going to represent a section, you have to be engaged in your section.
Unfortunately, Dan is not here, but we have talked to Dan and we've scheduled elections for the beginning of 2024. Right after the holidays, there'll be elections, because it is time, by the way, it's time. So it's the 3 years we'll be here. So the last time we held it, I believe, 2021, 2024, we'll be doing elections again. And I would agree that folks should be out talking to their folks. But I will say that the resident advisory board meetings are pretty lively. People don't hold back at those meetings. It's about what they're- Yes?
No, we don't.
Folks
No, we don't. No, we don't.
No, you don't. So, but,
And that's
but,
great,
and I
but
do think to make them public would be a great idea.
it is. I think it's important. I know that you guys say, and I know most of these ladies. I know most of them and the gentlemen that serve on it. I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong, but it doesn't look like we're being transparent, and it also seems to some residents that they're not being represented as they should be represented. So yes, our tenants should also be a part of those meetings.
Madam Chair,
Sure.
maybe you're thinking about changing the time. If some residents work in the family buildings, then maybe
Which is the issue mostly.
then maybe you could alternate times. If it's happening during the day, then the next month happens
In the
in the evening, so everybody can participate.
We can, I think that's great, and we're gonna have a new board the first quarter. So I think we can make a fresh start with that new board.
So we can
See, this is what happens when you come to this meeting. Over here is the only time we can express ourselves. And we have to say what we feel. I'm one that I want to fight for everybody because you know what? We're entitled to that. There's things that we want that you've already made your mind up and decided. You let us know when everything is already decided. Give us a chance.
Thank you, Margie. I appreciate that. Director, that was all for public portion. If you'd like to move forward with your report.
I will, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have had an exciting month here at the Housing Authority. We've had the bittersweet dedication of the courtyard at Harrison Gardens.
Excuse me, can we just keep it down while the director is speaking?
With the placement of the plaque in honor of Arlette Braxton. We had a nice event there, it was very sweet, a few tears and some laughter, but I think the plaque looks beautiful there, and we'll continue to honor her. We, along with Familyhood, sponsored a very successful trunk or treat along 4th Street, a true family event for all of Hoboken. We have designed and are ordering the plaque in honor of Ms. Forbes. We expect about a 6-week turnaround on that plaque. Once again, we hosted elections at numerous sites with great success. Congratulations to all of our partners in local government that won re-election, including the one that's sitting in the room. As we all know, I should mention, I got really good news yesterday from an old friend of ours, LaTrenda Ross, that the Hoboken Coalition has chosen the Hoboken Housing Authority as the beneficiary of their annual gift drive. And they will be collecting over the holidays laundry detergent, stuff for laundry, stuff for cleaning, and they will be arranging with us to give that out to Hoboken Housing Authority residents. We just got notification of that, and LaTrenda is the chair of that group. So thank you, LaTrenda, for doing that for us. And as that progresses, we'll have more news. That just came in. We continue to work with the Hoboken Police Department and our residents. A security committee met with HPD yesterday. Chairman of the committee, you want to say a thing or two?
Yeah. We talked about, we had a productive call with the chief. We thanked them for their time. We talked about the senior citizen buildings and having more of a presence with our officers walking the buildings so that our residents can see that, you know, they care about the safety of all the residents and just they're more visible. They agreed to that. They're going to supply some numbers and data, I think, that Sergeant has for us later in this meeting. What else did we talk about?
I think just overall security.
Yeah, the security contract that we have that you know, we want to make sure that security guards are doing what we pay them for. We talked about that extensively to make sure that, you know, we're not paying these guys to be sleeping overnight, and that I think that contract is going to be up in a couple months.
Yes.
So we're going to be looking to see if it makes sense to keep them or to go out to bid for a new one. Yeah, it was a productive meeting. I requested from them to get some data to see exactly what the frequency is for the officers to walk in this specific building, so that, because I knew that you guys are going to be here tonight. So we're curious to see exactly what the results say. And the intent was not to say that they're not doing their job or they're not walking through every building, but sometimes data and numbers speak volumes, and we want to see actual facts about where the cops are and how much they're patrolling, our property.
And we talked, I think, about responding to us too, like Evelyn brought up, we'd like to see them more at Christopher Columbus. I think we'd like to see them more here, so I think we're going to see.
Down that way, you have also disabled and senior on those two buildings.
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll be working, and I think we had a really good meeting with them. I think they're really open to us and responsive to us, so we'll keep that up with them.
And I'm sure the sergeant will address the, not having access to those two buildings.
Yeah, they got access, but otherwise.
Do we want to do that now, or Director?
I didn't see you there. Why not? We're here.
Yeah, we just asked the Hoboken Police Department to give us a monthly spotlight, some tricks of the trade to maybe keep you guys safe and things to remember. So if you want to, we appreciate Sergeant Coleman. McCourt, right?
Yeah, Sergeant McCourt. Hello, everybody. So I prepared numbers for the month of October for this building specifically. So you're aware, whenever the police department either responds to a call or calls out a detail check is what we label it. It's kind of like either a dismounted patrol or there's police officers that are in the area specifically for a reason in regards to an address. That is logged with our dispatch and our CAD system, so there's a way to go through it. For the month of October, we were in this building 91 times, an average 3 times a day. More than half of that was proactive patrols, not response. It was the police department coming here, doing detail checks, walking the building, talking to people in the community room. More than half of the times we responded to this building were proactive patrols.
Do you have the number? Do you have the exact number?
It was
like 50.
Yeah, it was 91 total times, and then it was just over half of that was specifically related to proactive.
I see them in my floor.
And then the other ones are medical calls or any other calls for service from this building. So that's just the month of October. Like I said, 91 times we were here. That's an average of approximately 3 times a day. That's one building amongst how many buildings?
About 24.
Right, 24 buildings throughout the whole authority. We were here 91 times in just the course of that month. So if there's any questions that you have directly related to those numbers, again, this is coming off of yesterday's meeting. I pulled those quickly. That's just the tip of what we could have delved into more details for other buildings. I wasn't prepared to do that. It takes a little bit of time to do that. I don't have the numbers for 468th Street or 455 9th Street. I do know that we do have access. If you want to speak after the meeting, I'll try to get some information from you to where you got that information from that we do not have access. I'll look into that. Our key cards work the same way they work for this building as that building. And I do know for a fact that our officers do patrol. I don't have the numbers again, but I do know that.
Well, I have my apartment booby truck, so I get to see the cops if they come around on my floor.
There, okay.
So I have data on that perspective.
Okay.
Because of, anyhow.
Okay.
But
Sergeant,
military things.
I just have a few questions. Unfortunately, I wasn't part of the meeting because it was during the workday and I was working. But are you guys patrolling the family buildings such as Harrison Gardens?
I don't pull numbers specifically like I said, we were prepared for PX specifically for this building. I can't speak for all 3 shifts on what they do throughout the course of their patrols. I do know that there's a district car assigned to this district 24/7, for lack of a better term. We don't require certain buildings to be patrolled at a certain time, or it's up to the officer. dictates the way that they patrol their district. Unless if there's a reason to go, there's some stimulus that's bringing us there, or something, there's information that is leading us to be in a specific area.
The reason I'm asking is because I was part of the last security committee, and it was my understanding that those buildings were having walkthroughs. And as a commissioner, someone who not only lives here, works in the community, and I do relate a lot to the residents, a lot of the complaints that I have been receiving have been from the hanging out in Harrison Garden hallways. So I can't tell you a specific building because I think I've had complaints from all 4 buildings. A prime example is last night, what happened last night in those hallways, which was Harrison Gardens. And what kind of upsets me, I always give you guys your kudos, you guys do amazing jobs, and yes, you're absolutely right. We do have a patrolman that parks on Jackson Street and is there all day. But what good is the patrolman in the car if the stuff is happening inside the building? You guys are hanging in the building. Our tenants have to walk through this. I mean, I see it on social media. I don't even see it, I'm not seeing it from the other aspect, but if I'm seeing it on social media, I'm pretty sure that the staff of the housing authority is seeing the hanging out in the hallways, as well as you guys who have access to the cameras. So, where I understand that, it's basically what you just said was that, well, we'll walk it if we feel that it's a problem. I think that since I've been part of the security committee, since I lived in Harrison Gardens has always been a trouble spot. So I don't think that should have ever wavered where the officers were not walking. And we know that the specific times where these problems happen are the nighttime. It's getting cold, and it's only going to get worse. They're not going to be hanging out on 3rd and Harrison. They're going to be hanging in the hallways of Harrison Gardens. So I feel like we need to get a grasp on it now before it gets worse.
Yes. I agree with you. So like I said, I don't know, numbers-wise, I don't have those. I do know that officers patrol each building within the housing authority. The buildings that have more of an issue or potential to have an issue are hit more often than the ones that aren't. If there's a specific complaint that comes through the security committee or any representative of housing or a citizen or a resident, we do take priority in managing those complaints. Last night, I will tell you that we did not receive one call for a complaint of somebody hanging out in the hallway. I was working last night, nothing leading up to what happened. Was there a complaint from a citizen?
And that's important, that residents call. I mean, sometimes you don't think it's important, but it is important.
And I tell them that because a lot of the times the officers are hearing from me, right? So I'm the one that's usually giving the complaint. I'm hearing the complaint from everyone, but the only one who's speaking is me. So I say to them, please call. But you know what they say to me? No, what if they find out that it's me? They're coming after me. Not everybody's okay with having people, any type of individual knowing, especially that type of individual, knowing that they're the ones calling. So, it's hard. It's hard. I lived in that building. I know how hard it is. And it's only getting worse.
We are getting the cameras in the hallways too, so that
We are getting cameras in each hallway and the stairwell.
So they'll be able to see that and directly send someone, so that will.
Which will help.
But another problem is, Andrew, with what you just said, the cameras are only being watched after something happens. They're not being watched. 24. Sure, I mean, so that's an issue. Even if you're not doing a walkthrough, but you're looking at the camera at a certain time, then maybe send, like that, maybe that could work. But again, I can't tell you guys, I know you guys are busy.
Is it possible to get those access to the camera to like an officer that's on duty, like on his phone, or to see access? So instead of, then maybe we can have.
Call Gino Giacobelli to the stand.
Those of you who don't know me, I'm sorry. I'm Captain Gino Giacobelli. I've been here a million years. I used to play around the corner. I won a bunch of championships around the corner too. Softball. It's just not fair for Duke because some of them, he's not going to be in some of those decisions. But the issue I think we have to understand here, and I'm glad Duke hit on it, and we have to really just be honest about it, is it's going to take some community involvement. It's going to, because you could call and you could stay anonymous if you have to, but if we put an officer in that hallway and he walks up and down, he's going to leave there eventually, he's going to go to another building, then somebody's gonna act up in that building, right? So like this, we can't be everywhere all the time. I do feel for you, and I do understand how rough it is to make the phone call and all of a sudden worry that somebody's gonna, come back and lash out at you. That's up, but you can make the call anonymously. There's nobody says you don't.
Caller ID.
Well,
I got direct call.
First of all, I'll teach you how to block your number, so you don't have to worry about calling.
My brother, you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember that particular one that happened. But what I'm saying is, if
No,
you
he
also,
went with you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I should be addressing you guys. If you do call and you don't get the service you like you had said before, that when you called, they didn't send anybody, or they said they couldn't come, whatever.
They didn't have access.
You have to at least ask for the desk, ask for a supervisor, ultimately you could talk to internal affairs. Nobody gets more frustrated with bad police work than police officers. When we hear that the job didn't get done correctly, it fires us up beyond belief. I'm in work every morning, 6 o'clock with the chief. We go over what went wrong the day before and what we're gonna do better the next day. And believe me, as frustrated as you are because you live in it, and I can never feel what you're feeling living it, I live it from a job perspective. And we wanna do the best possible job. I mean, Barbara, we wanna do the best possible job we can for you guys. We wanna be in your lives, we consider you part of our lives. And the better we do for you, the more you love us, the more we love each other, and it's kumbaya all around the block. So communication between you and us has to constantly happen. That's why we show up here all the time. That's why we show up at meetings all the time. And when you're seeing something in the building, you have to talk amongst each other and call it in.
Yes.
Now, as far as I do want to address the one elephant that always comes up in the room, as far as the officer sitting in the car on Jackson Street, I'm going to stand up here in front of you guys. Hello, by the way. And send the sides. How you doing? And say that happens. Sometimes human nature kicks in. They lap around. Nothing's going on. They go in a different building. They come back. Somebody gets a coffee. Something happens, and they sit down. They take a break. That infuriates us too. It does, and we deal with it. When it happens, we'll go look at it and we'll go, that can't happen. To sit here and tell you that that's never going to happen again would not be true. It's like a kid getting in trouble in school. They're gonna do it again at some point, right? But we'll keep addressing it until we get better at it. We'll keep addressing it until we get better.
So your policy with the officers is they're supposed to be walking around?
The officer at this location should be doing the same thing that the officer should be doing at any location. Be active in the community.
Right.
If you're on Washington Street, you stop in to get a water, you're supposed to ask the guy that owns the place, what's going on? How are you? What's your name? I never met you before. You see anything around here that you don't like that's happening? You got anything you can tell me? Any way you can help me? Any way I can help you? It's supposed to happen like that.
The sitting in the car or the standing by the car is just like
it's a function. It's a function of I walked around a bunch of times already, and now I'm going to sit. I think.
I think that's where like the frustration is because
for us too.
I mean, I seem like every time I drive by that area,
right?
And I don't know if it's just a freak like coincidence.
Yeah.
Every time I drive by, or like every time you walk by, or like every time they're sitting there.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, we see it. We see it.
Can't be that rare.
No, we see it as well. We see it as well. And I think what's happening is it's.
And this is not the first time this is like years of talking about this.
Right. Well, I think Duke didn't pull these kind of numbers either, and we could talk numbers all the time. We used to flood you guys with reports and stuff every time something happened. Sometimes too much information. What are you going to do with it? You're going to sift through tons of information that goes nowhere. But the projects right now has been pretty much as safe as it's been in forever. Inside the senior buildings, I know you guys have a lot of concern, and that's why we want to address that.
I see the cops
But the calls for service around here, from the CAT, they're down tremendously. So,
I probably push back. I mean, I've been on the board for, I think, my 6th year now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't declare this year as the safest year in the housing.
If you're looking at the number of actual calls that have come in over the years, especially for violent crimes, recent history, of course, has got my timing terrible right now for what's happened last night. We understand that. And by the way, we're all over it. We were over it in 10 minutes. We were all over it.
But there's been like 4 or 5 of those this year.
Yes, but if you look at the standard of, listen, again, I like to keep it real. I'm born and raised in this town, just like Michael, just like a lot of us. There was a time it was hard to walk down here without getting into a fist fight. We're just not there. I come down here with my kids, I coach down here, I come down here for all the charitable events. I'm gonna walk out of here right now and walk home, I'm gonna walk right through, I don't have no police paraphernalia on, I'm not worried to walk out this door right now. You're not worried to walk home right now, you're not worried to walk home right now. We're doing a good job down here, I think, for the most part. I think definitely. We're gonna do better, we'll always do better. We'll always do better. But this area, I'm gonna go out on a limb, without any numbers in front of me, and say, this 3x4 area is as safe as any 3x4 area in town. I would say it is.
It broke the
Put it out
schedule
there.
last night.
Yeah, it did. It
We had a
did.
festival last
Can't
night.
argue.
And I'm
We'll put some
not
numbers
saying that you
together.
guys, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you guys aren't doing a good job.
Yes.
I think that one thing that we changed now that maybe makes us work better together is that we actually get in front of the problem, right? Where before, we waited
Share
for an
information.
issue to happen and then everybody was all over it to make sure it didn't happen again. So I think that's one of the good things. But I kind of feel, being a resident down here, I get it from your perspective as an officer, but as a resident, when you stand there and say that we probably are the safest that we've ever been, I'll be honest with you, I've lived here for so many years, and the last few years have not been the safest.
So when, I'm just out of curiosity, when would you consider was the safest time period in your life down here?
I'll be honest with you, back when I first moved
When
here, things
everybody
weren't
was
as
fist
bad as they
fighting.
are now. We didn't have shootings. I think,
Because it was a shooting
when I
each other.
first moved down here was probably more than 15 years ago, I wanna say, and maybe we had one shooting, it was, and that whole time, like one, and that was it.
You do.
But
They were
shooting-
fist fighting.
But
Right,
shooting
exactly.
and
Better than
and
shooting.
shootings
Right.
and
That's true.
shootings, fist fights, and violence has definitely risen in the housing authority.
You know, the younger
in the last
element-
2 years. I mean, you could be working here as a manager, director, even you guys who have served on this board for a while. I think we have not heard more complaints about the violence and what's happening here than we've ever heard before.
Well, here you go. It circles back to what I said when we first started. Then all that information's got to do a better job of getting to us. Because if we have cops down here 24/7 and they're sitting in the car, then that obviously means, to use Duke's verbiage, there was no stimulus bringing them anywhere else. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're having calls for violence, it's not getting to us as best we can. And before I get dismissed here and sit down, which I'll always talk with you guys as much as possible here or outside, to have cameras on every floor and everything, it's going to be more of an investigative tool. It just is. You cannot have, you wouldn't even want Big Brother. You would not want to be watched all day and all night. I would not want cameras in everywhere I live. I wouldn't want to walk out in the hall to get the paper in my underwear and know that you're looking at me. You don't want that, you know?
Me,
Right,
I will
yeah.
actually put on a robe.
Right. You're gonna want me to put on a rope, believe me. So, that's not really gonna be what you want.
The one thing that I would probably say is that I think we have to differentiate what the violent crime is too,
Yeah.
right? So I think you're absolutely right about the shootings.
Yes.
Specifically.
Shoot-wise, yes.
But you hear about that, right? You don't hear about the guy who walked out of the bar, picked up a bottle and smashed it over someone's head.
Exactly.
Right, so the perception of what those are could be very different too. And again, I don't know the numbers, I'm just going on. I think the violent crime in the housing authority is very, very different than the violent crime on Washington Street at 3 o'clock in the morning after the bar.
No question about it.
Right, so I think that's what we gotta kind of look at and differentiate which one is which. Because I think you're right in the sense that there are shootings.
Yes.
And we know about them instantaneously. We don't know about the guy who got hit with the bottle because he saw him coming out of the bar. We just don't.
I mean,
Somebody called on-
I'll close with this, Mike, not to cut you off. I consider somebody coming into my home a violent crime, right? Like a burglary, whether you interact with me or not. If you come into my building, it's kind of scary. It happens around the city more than it happens here. Fights happen, aggravated assaults, like Michael just described eloquently, they happen other places more than happen. The fact that you're gonna get a shooting here kind of puts it like over the top. The one shooting trumps 42 different things. I know what you're saying. What I'm saying is on a regular day-to-day, around the clock, I'm gonna go get my milk from the store. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, to say that this is the safest 3 to 4 block
That it's
area in
been.
the whole.
No, I said that it's been, not that it's the safest in it. It's as safe as any other area, I'm gonna submit. And it's as safe as it has been, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
As it has been historically.
What's that?
I agree with him. I am born and raised here as well.
No, I thought the comment was that this is the 3 to 4 block safest area in the town. I thought that's what you said.
Right, no.
And I would push back and be like,
I'd even push back a little on
you
that.
know, I'd rather, you know,
Yeah.
I'd rather
live in Maxwell
walk
Park.
on Bloomfield between 8th
Yeah.
or 9th to 14th than, you know, that's
Right.
just on, I mean, honestly.
Right.
But you're safer here than the 14th Street.
Yeah.
Well,
I think one of the things that differentiates us from the rest of the town, and just on this whole, crime stuff, is that the housing authority residents do stick together,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
So they know their residents, they know their people,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
They know, so when something happens, they come together. We
Yeah.
have noticed, and you as part of security, noticed that the people that are causing the problems are not the residents from here.
Yeah.
They're not. That's the problem. It's the people that don't live here that are causing it. So yes, I feel comfortable sending my daughter to the store because I know that my neighbor or the guy in the next building is watching them because they know them. Oh, Barbara, your daughter, I just saw your daughter, she went that way, right? So you feel comfortable, but that's because that's a resident. Oh, she lives here, I'll look out for her child.
Yeah.
And that's how it is across the board. Where in other parts of town, they don't have that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what differentiates us. So we stick more like a community than the rest of the
that might lead to our next topic. And thanks for your time.
No problem.
Just while we're talking about it, to that point, when we talked about our attorney getting back to them about the chief, about the agreement,
Yes.
can we get an update from the attorney? Was it
Yeah,
MO?
I talked to Harold about this. I talked to Harold about this yesterday, and I know they're working on it. He's gonna check with, I think Harold, you're on the line, right?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Good
Yeah.
evening, everyone. This
Good
is Harold
evening, Harold.
Fitzpatrick.
And I know you're gonna talk to
I
Matt.
can report to you that I checked with Matthew on that today, and he's been in communication with the assistant city attorney, and he's working on a revision in our agreement with the city to address some of the issues that have come up in the last couple of discussions between the authority and the police department.
Great.
So we have some movement there.
Okay, good, thanks.
I would like to say something just in closing on that. I'm very sensitive to folks because I hear there's so much that.
Guys, can we stop the talking in the background, please, while the director's speaking?
Can we get everyone talking here? So I'm very sensitive to that. And many people do, and I will continue to encourage it. Most of you in this room have my cell phone number, right? If you're reticent about calling, call me, right? If you hear from the police that they can't enter and it bothers you, call me, and I will get that to the police. I get calls at 2 in the morning. I get calls at 3 in the morning. Fine. That's what we're here for. Myself and Frank over here, that's what we do. So feel very free to do that if you're worried, because if I call and tell them there's a bunch of guys in the hallway at 310, they'll go. And if you call, they'll go too. But if I call, I don't say who called me, right? So there's no way to link that back to you. So feel free to do that. I just wanted to add that. And if you don't have my cell phone number, I'll give you my card before we leave today. We are having a...
Put it on social media.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll drop it from helicopter. We'll do that. I don't mind at all. We are having our meet and greets coming up in November. I'll be at every site the last week in November. On the 28th of November, Fox Hill and Harrison. On the 29th, Adams and CCG. And on the 30th here at Monroe. You'll get flyers on that coming out in the next week or so. So we'll have a chance to sit and talk about all of these issues as well. The police have promised to come. So the police are going to be at our meet and greets this time, and we're going to have a good presentation on some new HUD regs for you as well. So that will be fine. We'll be at each site over that time period. Harrison and Andrew Jackson on the 28th of November. The security meeting met, we're through that. I started the meeting to talk about an exciting month. We have been got some excellent news regarding our Hoboken Housing Forward. As part of the process of redevelopment with HUD, we've received our CHAPS, or Commitment to Enter into Housing Assistance Payments contract, on Andrew Jackson and Christopher Columbus this month. That's a significant step forward with HUD. Clears a lot of things up, our path to the future. We already have CHAPS on Adam and Monroe, and Harrison will be following in due course. There's no question it will be coming soon. All of these are significant milestone and represents a lot and excellent work by staff and our enterprise partners and tech assistance team. So as we go through our process with the city, hopefully very soon, finalizing the redevelopment plan.
Planning board's going on right now.
Planning board's going on, we've got that happening. We've got, we will then be going out for a developer partner. We are moving, and we're really excited about that.
Are we not able to go out to the development partner like now, so that when it does get approved, we're already speeding it up?
The developer partner needs the redevelopment plan in order to even do his starting bid on.
And that's tonight,
proposal.
that's being,
Planning board's hearing it tonight, it'll be voted on at the council meeting on Wednesday.
so we can't do it until
Monday.
then.
Monday, right, excuse me, Monday.
But that's all ready to go, is my point. Like,
So we're getting there. We've also brought on our development attorney this past week. We got the contract finalized. Thank you, Harold, for that. We got the contract finalized, all that. So we'll be having our initial meetings with them over the next couple of weeks. So
Great.
ready to do up that RFP and make it happen. Capital Needs Plan consultants in front of you tonight. I'll talk to you about that when we come to that part. We're continuing to meet regularly with our redevelopment team, and we're working on projecting our management needs. You're going to be seeing over the next few months a new Section 8 admin plan, some additions to our admissions and occupancy policy, and the current 5 annual plans submitted to HUD, with just some minor tweaks, heading and clearing the way for redevelopment, as well as some new regs that HUD has put out. Our next induction ceremony for Hall of Fame is December 13th. December 13th, 6 o'clock, put it on your calendar. We'll be here to induct our next round of individuals for the HHA Hall of Fame. I continue to meet with residents. We met with 8 resident families this past month. We encourage you to come on in and sit down in my office and talk to me. In addition, we'll have that round of meet and greets at each site during the week of November 27th. We have been sensitive, I think, since last month's meeting at Fox Hill, talking about security concerns and how we're doing lease violations. We've been working on that with the security committee and with the police department. We have been in touch with our security firm regarding reporting and improving their performance. And as Andrew said earlier, we're going to be rebidding that in the near future. Let's see. Housing for Hoboken met on October 24th. We had a meeting with the Hoboken schools, with the school board folks. That was excellent. Barbara, thank you for helping set that up. I think it was a good meeting, just to start talking about how the redevelopment will affect the Hoboken schools.
That's great.
Yeah, and last but not least, have a school room here. Let's do it.
That's a great idea.
Part of the schools down here. So we had a good meeting with them, and they're very receptive. Special capital projects. We've got the Harrison thing going on with the cameras coming on each floor. Our courtyard paving is under design. All of that's under design right now. The emergency generator work is still in process. We got a boiler replacement at 655 Marshall Drive. And by the way, it's also at 501, 540, and 320 that we're replacing boilers this year. Last but not least, the Monroe boiler replacement is out for bid right now. We continue to work on our UPCS REAC inspection issues. Our sprinkler head project is completed. A couple punch list items. Interior door replacement is complete. Plaster work is in process, as well as kitchen cabinet repair and our window repairs. We continue with training on our Inspire Protect protocol. for the new inspection system. And I would like to say clearly in response to some concerns that have been expressed, if you think you've been charged for anything that's not your damage, that you didn't damage, please go see your manager and we'll talk about it. If there's something that, like we replaced a door in your unit and you don't think it was your damage, come on in, we'll talk about it. And if it was indeed just wear and tear, you don't get charged for normal wear and tear, you don't. So come on in and talk to us about it. Parking registration initiative is underway. We kind of beat that one already to death. On that, I did do a report on the management snapshot. We are continuing a good occupancy rate, 95% at our public housing, and we're at 96% at an occupancy at Fox Hill. Our rent collection issues, we continue to work hard on that. Our percentage of families that owe us dropped again, which is a good indication. So the number of families that actually owe us has dropped and is moving in the right direction. We have gone ahead and filed court actions on a number of our outstanding accounts. Anything I haven't covered on that, Frank, that you'd like to, wherever you are?
No, you covered it up pretty good.
Do you have the updated sheet for that?
Yes, it should be in there.
What number is that?
Attachment A and D. D is the aging report. D is the actual dollar aging report. The D in your folder.
The snapshot is a good one because it kind of gives you that whole picture that pulls from the other one.
Yeah, but it doesn't show where we were.
Oh, so last month we were at 40%. In your the amount of families was and the month before was like I think 42. So since we started tracking and giving you the snapshot one, what I can do next month, I'll give you a good.
Yeah, I remember seeing the sheet like where it started. It was like
Yeah.
1.2 million, right? Now we're down to 820,000.
What I want to talk about a little bit that really worked this month, that was exciting, was I know we keep going back to the parking, but through the parking, we got a lot of families to recertify. They had not come in to recertify because in order to get a parking sticker, you need to be lease compliant, which means you either enter into a repayment agreement if you were late on rent. So through the parking registration, we got another 35 families to enter into repayment agreements, which is good for them, it's good for us. And then we did, our number last month was 875,000 was what the families owed. So even though it's only $60-something thousand less, there were also some repayment agreements who people defaulted on from that first batch, who we had to put back. So those big ones are ones that we're going to be going to court with that are already the most egregious ones. So as families entered in the beginning of this process, families entered into repayment agreements, and some, they didn't make payments on the repayments. So now those families are going right back to the top of our court agreement. And what I'm working with Matt now is Matt is actually now going to give me, so that we start filling them out, the court repayment agreements, which is different. See, when it's with us, we give you 10 years, no interest, right? If it's through the court, it's going to probably be like 2 years. And and then once it's a court agreement, if you miss a payment, it's a very expedited step to eviction, and we do not want that. We're not looking for eviction. We're just looking for, so as many families as they can honor our repayment agreement would be better, so that they don't go into that, because that repayment agreement that comes through the court is going to be a much higher monthly payment, and the default is automatic.
How many families are in court right now?
So we have batches. The very first batch that was the August families, there's 10. Then after that, there should be 20 each month, 25. And so in total, we're almost up to 75 or 100 families who are eventually going to come in batches to the point. I want to let you know that...
Wait, hold on. So it looks like it's...
we're not in court with all the families that are here.
400 families owe a balance.
Right. We're not in court.
You're saying 175 are in court?
No, not even, no.
75 to 100.
Yes, 75.
But not even that are in court yet.
Not in court. They're in the process of, which starts with the first 10 families. Matt explained to me that there are the families who it might take 4 months before that first file ones, we're actually in front of a judge. Once we're actually in front of a judge, there won't be a month after that we won't be in. So the very first batch has 10 families, and after that, there'll always be at least 20 to 30.
So 0 families have been in front of a judge?
0 families have been in front of a judge. So, we still have time for families who want to, work with us before we get to that point.
So this month or next month, they'll be in front of the judge?
No, Matt's not on the call, but I think he explained to me it may still be like another 2 to 3 months before we have that first date. But whatever that first date is, once we're there, it's good.
This is Harold, I'm on the call, and I'm familiar. So far, we've actually filed 10 complaints.
Yes.
Frank said. And the issue that I think Frank is addressing is the fact that as the courts gear up to go back to accept cases, they're doing it at a much slower pace than they had historically. Historically, we had a court date every month, and we would make filings and we would get hearings every month. Now almost everything is being still done remotely, and it may take, as Frank says, several months before the court is actually prepared to address a complaint after it's been filed. It's going to take longer than it used to.
So, and while that's happening, these families are still living here, and we're still not getting any contact.
And we can, not just that, we cannot collect rent from them. So that's what I want you to know about this part.
So 400 families, we can't get in touch with them?
Just the ones that are...
Just the ones that are in court. So if anyone who has not, that is not yet with that notice to cease, and we're like, listen, they're getting their letters, but we haven't yet contacted them. If they're not in court, we can then at that point still work something out. Once we're in court, and what we're saying is that, unfortunately, and what we started was with the most egregious amounts. So that's what I wanted to get at. There were some families that had $15,000, $20,000, right? And we started going down, down, down. This month, the batch that we're at is now the families that owe $3,500. So that's the highest. All the other ones above it are already lined up for court. So next month, what we're actually going to switch over is to the folks who defaulted in those repayments. Now they're going to, because they're going to have the higher amounts again, and they're going to go back up.
How many of these families have we not talked to still?
When you say not talk to...
No communication, no contact, no agreement, no nothing?
No, there's still, we only have about 169 repayment agreements. And we have 400 families that are outstanding. And only the people that do not have a repayment agreement really show up in that outstanding.
So 231 families have not been in contact with?
No, they have not come in to do a repayment agreement, or they have not come in to recertify.
We've contacted them.
We've contacted them, and they've been getting their notices to cease every month. So they're getting served. When their number comes, when they reach that, we'll have 10 months of they got their letters every month.
What I'm trying to get at is, of those 231 families, they need to understand what you just said about, if you make the agreement with us, you get up to 10 years. If you don't, and it goes to court, you're gonna be out of here in 2 years. Right? And they don't probably know that.
Yeah, or less, right.
So they're like, housing's not gonna
They're gonna be, if they agree in court to a repayment agreement, it'll be probably 2 years worth of a repayment agreement.
Right.
They could be evicted much quicker than 2 years.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Okay. It could be months from the moment they first.
They don't make it.
And just think about a family that owes $15,000, right? If we were dividing that over 12 years, the monthly payment was low, and they defaulted on that. Now they're going to take $15,000 divided by 24. They're never going to make that payment. I don't want people to have to get to that point. It's almost insurmountable, unless they go in and do then a loan or something to kind of like pay that off. Or, I think that those first families, and there's always got to be someone. I don't know if Margie's still here, but like I know that as we're doing all these things, there's always going to be the first batch, right? So those first 10 families are our first batch, right? And they could easily say, well, no one's been to court in 2 years, but we have to start somewhere. Unfortunately, everything starts somewhere. We are at that point right now.
I know, just trying to help as much as we can. Is there a way we can knock on a door, or I know we're sending the letters? We're knocking on
Yeah,
doors
the whole thing is that we're begging them in every possible way to come.
Calling them.
so people are just not home.
Oh.
They're just, they don't
They don't
answer.
answer, they don't care, they don't come in when you set up an appointment.
So we're doing everything we can.
I think we are.
And I think it's, a lot of the folks that are in the first 2 batches might not be there. So we are just gonna recoup, I believe. In the first grab, the first, let's say 30 apartments, we might get at least 10 or 12 that there's no one in
You
there.
can't go
That they're
in.
not even gonna show up. We already secured them if we saw that there's no activity, but we can't recoup it until we go to court.
So we do a yearly inspection, right?
Yes.
Of the unit?
Yes.
So we've gone in, we can see
Yes.
it.
Yeah, and we just did react, so,
Right.
and Jackie just did some door inspection, so as we go through stuff, there's always reasons or ways that we catch certain things.
Gotcha, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank, good job. Our maintenance folks, we're doing a special door painting at Adams and Monroe. Adams is complete, and we're starting here at Monroe. We're doing pricing for various pavement repairs at our parking lots. Fanny, we're gonna get that parking space of yours. I understand maybe you got a new parking space, Fanny? Yeah, so you don't have to get wet when you come out of your car? But anyway, we're taking care of your parking spot.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Good.
Yeah, but one thing what I was telling you is so you put like a ramp there that I can push my car right here. You know, like you put a 10 thing there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, we're gonna take care of you there. We continue to work on November 8th, we met with city representatives to coordinate activities to improve trash collection, recycling, including the effect it has on rodent control. I think it was a very successful meeting. Yeah, let's talk about how we can more rat-proof our trash operation and institute recycling at all of our units. We have recycling in our elderly and disabled buildings, but not on our family right now. So we had a good meeting with them. I did do attachments on our maintenance plumbing projects, our unit repair special projects. This time I included an extermination report that you can take a look at on all of the extermination activity, which is attachment G, and our boiler report on what our boiler crews are doing on attachment H. And it's getting cold, they're doing a great job out there. A special note, a long-term and valued employee that many of you may know, Curtis Parker, is going to be retiring. So, poor Curtis. We're going to miss, as I say here, we wish him the best and we'll miss his uplifting spirit around the housing authority. So, he's happy, unfortunately. HMA on finance, HMFA billing is pretty close to closeout. Finance is working on year-end closing for last year's 2023 budgets, housing choice voucher budgets, and contract management out of finance. Like I said, Daniel could not be here with us this evening. In his report, he did talk about Ray's Women's Self-Defense Workshop. We do have a possibility for our boys and girls to do a free basketball program with the Next Basket Wins folks. So encourage your kids, grandkids to sign up. This is great, good stuff. The food pantry continues, and we're rolling into our Thanksgiving celebrations, right? So that's coming up soon. As Thanksgiving comes upon us, the 15th, 16th, and 17th. And we've got a Christopher Columbus family Thanksgiving dinner coming up, and a senior Christmas celebrations coming up in, we'll have another meeting before those. They're coming up. Christmas, I haven't finished my shopping yet. On the 16th, we'll have one board meeting before this, but we are planning our Winter Wonderland celebration again. Over at the Arlette Braxton Courtyard. So we're actively planning that right now. We've got our food pantry, the library, and an affordable connectivity program. If anyone's not signed up for that, you get a discounted month service of $30 for eligible households, and you should all be eligible. And that is my report.
Director, I just want to
Yes.
touch base on the maintenance. I got a complaint from 655 6th Street, second floor. It's not just one resident, it's a few residents there that there is a cockroach infestation. I guess in one of the apartments, but now it's leading into the hallways.
Of course it will.
So they literally have like boric acid in their hallways because they don't want the roaches getting into their house. So I think maybe we should look into having an extermination of that hallway, but definitely that unit.
Where is it now?
It's in 655 6th Street. I can provide
Yeah,
you
get
guys
the
with
info.
more
We'll make sure we
information
get out there.
later off the
Thank you.
record.
Yeah, we're chasing them. As you can tell from that extermination report, it's a lot. But
Yes.
we'll definitely chase them as they come up. Thank you.
Yes, okay. So that's it. I guess we can
Yes.
move on with the resolution. Can we please
Madam
also?
Chair?
Sure.
I have questions on the executive director.
Sure, absolutely. Before I let you speak, Commissioner Stanford, can we also, Terry, make sure that the record reflects that Commissioner Forbes has been on the meeting? Because he wasn't here when the roll call was made.
I don't think Commissioner Sanford was here either.
Oh, yes, and Commissioner Stanford, my apologies. Commissioner Stanford, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Director, at the last meeting, you had made a statement. At the last meeting, I had several questions. Since that last meeting, I have in writing and also at the last meeting asked you directly, when did you direct HHA staff not to communicate with this commissioner?
I haven't seen that. Did you send me a new email?
I did not. I had already sent.
So I'd asked you to send me a new email. I think we were clear to send me a new email with all of your questions.
We were not clear. I had already sent in writing a request to know the exact date and time when you instructed and directed staff not to communicate with Commissioner Sanford.
I understand your statement, but what we said at the last meeting was give me a fresh email with all the information you'd like from me. And I've never seen that email this month.
Commissioner, could I ask a favor? Could we vote on business so that residents who want to leave, because I know you have a lot of questions, I saw you writing a lot down, so just vote on business so that any residents who want to hear any particular resolutions could leave, and then you could kind of continue that. And again, totally up to you. I just want to be respectful of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't accommodate that. I've been waiting for months to get an answer to this question.
No problem.
So,
I thought I'd ask.
When is the exact date?
I can't answer that. Give it to me in writing. Give it to me and I'll research it.
Can I make a comment here, please?
Sure.
Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
We're not following the ordinary procedure of the authority in terms of the agenda. This sounds to me like new business. And I want to second what Commissioner Russo said. I believe the next order of business is to consider resolutions. And if we're going to have a discussion of other things that may have happened at a meeting or should happen in the future, I believe that should come after resolutions, which should be the next item on the agenda.
Council?
Unless Commissioner Sanford has questions as it relates to the director's report, right?
Yes. Do you have any questions regarding to the report?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what we can do then, is this okay then, Mr. Fitzpatrick? If he has questions regarding the report, we can have those addressed now. Anything else we can have addressed at new business?
Oh, certainly. I didn't realize that any questions were related to the report. And if we're still on the report, then they can be asked now, yes.
So Commissioner Stanford, I'm going to ask you that any questions that you ask at this time pertain to the director's report. And then in new business, you can ask any questions pertaining to anything that has happened in previous or upcoming meetings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, referring to the executive director's report, going back to page 2, H4H. When was the H4H meeting? what was the date?
I think it's there in my report.
It is. It is.
Is it October 24th?
Yeah, let me go back and take a look.
It is the 24th.
Yeah, it was the 24th, thank you.
And
So let me just make October 29th.
And in the past, I previously requested the list of attendees for those meetings and the minutes of those meetings. Do you have those meeting minutes and list of attendees for the October 24th meeting?
No, we don't keep minutes of that meeting, but I would be able to provide a list of attendees when asked. Yeah.
Well, if I may recall, Commissioner Lewitt, you're on the H4H? Okay. We had discussed at a prior board meeting that Commissioner Lewitt would be taking minutes.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
I don't remember that specifically. We look back at
I don't remember.
I don't remember asking him to take minutes, but
Remember, Commissioner?
I think at one point he said he keeps his own notes.
That was a different meeting.
Wait, is that different than the council that's made up of like?
Procurement.
That's
The-
It's different than a procurement.
What's that called?
Not the procurement
That Chris Brown is on.
committee, it's the
Oh.
developer selection.
Oh, the developer selection.
I think that's
the
what you're
one you
referring
asked
to.
him to take.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what you're referring to. Yeah, that's, we're getting
Yeah,
minutes,
that's
right?
definitely not.
Yeah, no, I think that's what he's referring to.
Well, that gets to my next question, which is, where are the minutes for the meetings of the evaluation committee that have happened since the last time we talked about it?
That's not on
Be
here.
specific.
Once again, that's not in my report, number one, but number two, that's the kind of thing I would be asking you for in writing, so we can.
And prior to the meetings, maybe, so that you can have them
Yeah.
available at the meeting.
So I have to request that in writing?
Yeah, I've
I
asked you
can't
to.
talk to you about it?
Well, I don't have them with me. I wasn't prepared to bring anything with me.
And again, Commissioner Stanford, I'm gonna ask you to keep it specifically to his report, and unfortunately, that committee was not brought up in his report.
The enterprise team is mentioned in your report, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What is the contact information for the enterprise team?
I don't have contact information with me on the enterprise team. It wasn't asked for me in advance. But again, if you're referring to our HUD rep, Ellis, we have offered to have a meeting with you.
I am
And
not
my
referring to the
understanding,
HUD.
okay,
I'm
that's
referring
fine.
to the enterprise team.
He's part of the enterprise team.
Okay, he's part of the,
So
who else is
I'll
part
give
of
you
the
what you
enterprise
can.
team?
Folks from the enterprise partners, a number of folks from there, and folks from our staff, and folks from HUD.
Partners, enterprise, HUD. Okay. So we have talked at a great length about Mr. Ellis's contact information. Can you provide me with contact information for the other individuals on the enterprise partner team and the enterprise HUD team?
I can probably give you company names. I'll ask them if they have any issues with me releasing their personal information.
I'm not asking for personal information, I'm asking for business email addresses.
Yeah, I will see what I can do.
That's not personal.
I will see what I can do.
Okay. When you say you see what you can do, when do you think you can get back to me?
Well, first of all, I'd like the request in writing from you.
You want the
Because
request?
we have, yes, I do. We've asked for that many, many times, and you don't seem to want to provide that. So please do business. If you want something.
Don't
if you want
mischaracterize
something-
my actions.
I'm not mischaracterizing your actions. No, I'm not.
Okay, this is gonna become a back and forth, maybe then we should put everything in writing, and you can feel free to CC me or Mr. Fitzpatrick, so we can make sure that the information gets to you, but we will not have the back and forth.
Well, this is the discussion.
No, I get it, but it doesn't look very professional when you're sitting here arguing with the director.
I'm not arguing with the director. My tone is not
So I'm
changed.
the only one that's misconstruing
I
the
guess so.
conversation. Thank you.
So moving on.
Okay, can we move on, please?
Moving on. Item 4 of your director's report under Housing for Hoboken is the legal representative firm. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I don't know where you are, what you're talking about.
So page 2, Housing for Hoboken. Item 4, the legal representative firm that we have chosen has agreed to contract.
Yes.
We will start our work with them shortly in preparation
Yes.
for the develop RFP.
Yes.
Okay. What is the name of that firm?
Remind me, Harold. I'm drawing a
Harold, can
blank.
you,
Reno and Kavanaugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It just got
this
me.
is a resolution that was approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah,
And I believe, although you didn't vote for it, Commissioner, you were present at that meeting. The name of the firm is Reno and Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure, because it just wasn't clear in the director's report. So that's Reno and Kavanaugh with a K?
No, with a C.
With a C. Got it.
If you look back in your meeting packages, you'll find it.
All right. Now, who is our primary contact at Reno and Kavanaugh? Director or counsel?
I don't have that with me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Harold, would you know?
No, I think the question is whether or not the contact between the authority and Reno and Kavanaugh on behalf of the authority was the executive director or the council. Do I understand the question correctly, Commissioner?
Allow me to rephrase. So we have our housing authority, and then there's someone at, presumably at Reno and Kavanaugh, who is working with the housing authority. Who is the primary person that we are working with at that law firm?
you mean the lawyer that's...
Is it Reno or is it Kavanaugh?
Yeah, neither of the above. It's a fairly large firm.
Right.
There are two people who show up in their proposal as the primary contacts.
Okay.
I believe the one person is the person whose signatory was on the contract.
All right, so can you give me the names of those two people?
Well, again, I think the executive director is asking you to put that in writing, and I'm sure he can get you the information.
I have to put that in writing? You just can't tell me over the phone?
They don't have it in front of them. They didn't know these questions were gonna be asked.
It's not my problem if they're unprepared.
They're unprepared because they should bring in everything from every single meeting that we have. We have over 10 meetings a month. And you only participate in one? Let's be real.
Yeah, and I have to read everything that they prepare.
So do we all.
So do we all.
Read it, read it.
You don't have that information, Harold? Is that what we're saying, and I have to put that in writing?
I can get it for you, but the fact of the matter is you have it too, because it's in your previous meeting packages. I wasn't prepared to talk about it right now. It's certainly not an issue of not being prepared in general. I think that that would apply to you as well, Commissioner, in terms of asking questions that you already know the answer to because you have it in your meeting package.
Some might
They
say,
arrived months ago.
some might say knowing the answer to a question is being well prepared. Number 6. Number 6. Our redevelopment team continued, this is from your report, Director. Our redevelopment team continues to meet regularly with the enterprise partners, Harold Fitzpatrick, HHA staff, and HUD represented by Mr. Wilson Henry. I asked about this earlier, and I've sent many emails in writing ahead of this meeting. What is Mr. Wilson Henry's work contact email at HUD?
And as I've answered many times, he has asked me not to give out his contact information. He has asked me that.
When did he ask you?
I'd have to look back at notes. You ask me these things, I don't know whether it's when exactly, sir, but we've been through this territory. And in response to that, we have offered to set up a meeting with him and our attorney. And
So
what is, I don't understand what you don't understand about my answer to you that I've given you 5 times already. I don't know why we're here again, wasting everyone's time.
I am not wasting everyone's time. This
Yes,
is
you are.
my
Yes, you
time.
are.
This is my time as a commissioner of this housing authority to ask questions. Our business is part of the public record for the sake of transparency. The questions that I have asked in writing
It's in the prior
are
minutes.
not in the
Yes,
record.
they are, Cheryl.
So,
Just
Director,
look for it.
Director,
Stop being so lazy.
Guys,
Chair.
please, guys.
Chair, will you control the room, please? Director.
I will. But you have taken and made a circus of this meeting every month.
Director.
Okay, guys, please. And what I would say to you residents, and I'm telling you as a resident, you guys have a problem with this, then you need to go to the person that put him on this board, and the mayor. Go to him and tell them what we go through every month at this meeting. I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. We're gonna go to the mayor. Thank you. Can you continue? I'm done. Yes, I am. I'm done.
Are you back under control?
Yes,
So, allow me to help you to understand. I have never
Excuse me, guys, I'm gonna ask you guys to refrain from talking in the gallery and let them speak so we can get this over with, because I have kids I need to get home to. Thank you.
Director, I have never asked you to set up a meeting between me and Mr. Willis Unruh. I have consistently asked you for his contact information. I would
Could
like
you
his
just speak
work.
into the microphone, Mr. Sanford?
I have consistently asked for Mr. Ellis's HUD work email. That's it. That's all I want at this point. I do not want to have a meeting anymore. If I have a meeting with Mr. Wilson Henry, it will be through a communication between myself as a commissioner and Mr. Wilson Henry as the HUD representative, and I'm trying to understand why this commissioner cannot talk to the HUD representative.
And again, I know I've communicated this with you. I went to Mr. Ellis Wilson Henry, and I told him of your wish, and he told me that he did not want me to share his information, and that he would be glad to set up a meeting with you. But that is where I am. I am going to honor his request to me. That is the long and short of it. Commissioner, I've told you this. I don't know why you still don't understand this. I don't know how can I say it differently to you to make you understand that this man who's from HUD has asked me not to give out his contact information, but that he'd be glad to have a meeting with you if we set it up. That's...
Okay. Next question. Next question. Who is Mr. Wilson Henry's direct superior at HUD?
I do not know.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
I think all this information can be found on the HUD website. I think it's just common knowledge. So I think maybe you should do a little research on the HUD aspect of it. And maybe you'll find out all that information. I mean, if it's so needed and it's so, because we go over this question month after month and the director continues to state the same thing, has not changed to what he has said. And I don't know if you put it in writing to him. If so, again, at this point, I just don't even know. It's useless. It's a waste of time. We go through this every month.
You guys could easily not go through this every month if I just got the information that I've requested.
Well, if I'm asking for information month after month and I'm not getting it, then I'm going to do my due diligence and my due research to gather that information without getting it from the person that's not giving it to me or that has been asked not to give it to me. I'm just saying, it's just common sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I just Googled it and found it, so.
Yeah, the director of HUD's information is the secretary of HUD.
It's common sense. It's just a waste of time, but go ahead.
So much for not having a back and forth. I'm just asking questions.
The same questions every month that you're getting the same answers for.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
just trying to help you. You could just Google it.
You're not helping.
You get it right away though. Your phone has Google, right?
Google works.
Can we move forward? Do you have any further
I do
questions?
have further questions. I'm reviewing my notes.
Should have been prepared.
You know, I'm going to address that, and I would love to be prepared, but a lot of this information was only provided to me today. It would be beneficial if the agenda and the board meeting packet was not handed out at the meetings And it would be beneficial if this commissioner doesn't have to request multiple times to have the meeting agenda and the list of resolutions.
You got my director's report last night at 8 o'clock.
That was the only thing that was provided yesterday, but
Last
everything
night.
else was provided prior to that. The packet was provided earlier in the week.
Last week.
Yeah, just for the record.
The packet was provided earlier today, around 10 o'clock in the morning.
The draft packet was last week, and then the final was this morning.
Check your email.
So the H4H meeting that occurred with the Hoboken Public Schools.
We're back on 3?
Correct.
Yes, I'm listening.
I would like the meeting minutes and the attendees of that meeting.
Yeah, I believe I can get you the attendees. We do not, I think I said earlier, we do not take minutes of that meeting. No, we will produce minutes of that meeting. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yeah, we can get minutes of that meeting when they're published. Yeah, we do minutes of that meeting.
Okay. When do you expect it to be published?
In the next week or so.
Okay.
Well, no, Executive Director, because it's just like the Housing Authority. The minutes are prepared, approved by the board, and then available for distribution if someone makes a written request at the next or after the next meeting of the Board of Housing for Hoboken, which won't occur until the 28th of November.
They will approve.
I know that schedule intimately because Kevin Fitzpatrick of our firm is the one who is actually the scrivener of the minutes.
Absolutely, that's correct.
Thank you, Harold.
Okay. My last item, as we previously discussed, will be for new business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to the resolutions. Resolution number 2023-1101, resolution of the Hoboken Housing Authority, City of Hoboken to approve the meeting minutes for October 12, 2023, regular board meeting.
Second.
Questions, concerns? Director, can you please?
I do have questions.
Here we go.
So during the overall discussion of the meeting, and I brought up that I still do not believe that the last meeting was called in attendance with the Open Public Meetings Act. I'm not here to debate that, but I would like that reflected in the minutes because the minutes say there are being no further questions, comments, or discussion. That's not true. There was quite a bit of comment and discussion from this commissioner.
Okay. Terry, can you please make sure that that's reflected in the minutes? Thank you. Any further questions or concerns?
One last item, right? Yep.
Yes,
Harold?
Mr.
No, that's all right, Commissioner, go ahead.
Okay. One last thing, toward the end of the written minutes, it says there is a closed session to discuss personal matters. That should be changed to personnel.
No, that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's true.
That's the one that was the issue.
Correct. So during the last meeting, there was a closed session. It was requested by Commissioner Stanford to go into closed session. After going into closed session, we all felt that that really was not necessary to go into closed session. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, am I right in saying that we would like to reflect that?
Yes, well, I've recommended to the executive director that that was not, and as we ultimately determined during the discussion, Matthew Fitzpatrick stated at the time, an appropriate closed session discussion. There is a transcript of that closed session discussion, which is available only in the closed session fashion that is ordinarily the case when we have a closed session. But in this case, my recommendation is that at the December meeting of the authority adopt a resolution to determine that since that closed session is no longer something that needs to be kept in confidence, it be turned into a public session and that the transcript of that portion of the meeting be made available. And I will, unless someone in authority tells me not to, prepare a resolution for next month's meeting reflecting that. We do keep things in closed session if it's appropriate to keep them in closed session and to keep the transcript confidential, and that can happen for quite some time. In this case, that really was not appropriate and it should be fixed.
Correct.
So, Harold, I have some questions on this. So, are you communicating to me that it is your recommendation that the word personal, P-E-R-S-O-N-A-L, is the
No, I'm not talking about that at all. That's
Okay.
a typo.
That's a typo. That's all I'm saying.
You're drifting off into some sort of Neverland, Commissioner. I'm talking about the fact that at the next meeting, and it's not you I'm talking to the entire board and its staff, that there should be a resolution releasing that transcript to the public. That's all I'm saying. It was very clear.
Thank you.
Harold, I need to address you because that statement of yours of going off in the Netherlands is unprofessional and uncalled for. I just...
But it's ridiculous for you to tell me that the spelling is what I commented on.
No, I just asked about the spelling. That's all I've
That's
asked.
not what I was commenting on.
I just
So don't
asked
tell
about
me
the
I'm
spelling.
unprofessional. You're being silly.
I just asked about the spelling. I said it should go from
I think we
personal
should look
to
at
personnel.
ourselves before we actually speak to someone else about unprofessionalism and so forth, because I think you, more than any other commissioner here, has been very unprofessional, not only to your peers, but to the executive director and the staff of this housing authority. So, can we move forward, please? Thank you, Harold, if you can please if you can please have that resolution for December, I'd greatly appreciate it, thank you.
No, wait. All I want is this word, personal, to be changed.
And it will reflect it. It was an error, we're human, everyone makes a mistake. So can you please, Director, make sure that it's changed from personal to personnel? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
This is the court reporter. Could you give me a page in line? Because I can see in literally 2 minutes if it should be personal or personnel.
It's actually...
Well, let me clarify. I believe if we're talking about the minutes that were prepared by the authority, which are about to be voted on.
Correct.
I do not believe we're talking about your transcript.
Yes, it's not yours, Terry. It's not the transcript of the meeting. It's actually the minutes that are prepared by the Housing Authority for the commissioners.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to say I can give it and I can check it. So thank you. Sorry
Thank you,
about
Terry. No problem.
So in order to make this change, do we need to table the minutes, Harold, and vote on them after the change, or make
No, I don't
a change?
believe so. I don't believe so. I mean, this is the ministerial nuance.
It's a human error.
Yeah, well...
We'll just fix it in the final version.
Yes. And then there was some comment about adding words about discussions.
Oh, at the beginning,
So
well,
all it is changing
he has
word.
the right to not vote on the minutes. If the rest of the board chooses to vote on it, it's up to you guys. So can we call the vote? Director?
We need a motion, right?
A motion, I think she said the motion.
I
said the
motion.
second.
So the vote is Anthony Forbes,
Yes.
Andrew Impastato,
Yes.
Aaron Lewitt,
Yes.
Barbara Reyes,
Yes.
Michael Russo,
Aye.
James Sanford,
No.
Erica Slatesman.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution number 2023-1102, resolution authorizing the payment of the monthly list of bills for the Hoboken Housing Authority.
Motion.
Second.
Questions or concerns? Andrew's afraid.
I have a question.
I was just teasing my son, don't you start.
As, just requesting the updated, is that on here somewhere, the
You can just
Emil?
talk into the microphone, Andrew.
Oh, sure.
Come on, Andrew, you can yell.
I'm requesting the document from Emil, the updated for the commissioner's expenses and staff for the conventions.
We put that in the, is it in the back of my report, Lourdes? I think we put it, I'm looking.
Yes, it's on the back.
It's in the back.
of the packet.
H-I, is it I?
Is it right in the back of my report?
It's, yeah, no, it's in the back for the commissioners.
In the back
On
of
the back of the binder, yeah.
Oh, it's in the back of the binder. It's,
Yes.
Oh, I see it here, I think. And, oh,
Yes.
in the back, and right here. Oh, you don't have one?
I don't have one. Convenient.
Sorry, here, you can have mine.
The only one looking at it. I got, thanks.
Sorry, his binder didn't have one, David.
Okay, now, we said that we were gonna add the staff,
Emma
right?
and I talked about that at about 4 o'clock today, and I think we said, we weren't sure whether we should add the staff or not. Now that you say it, yes, we should, and I apologize, because we did not do that. We did the commissioners again, but we did not do the staff. It's easy to do, and we can even send it to you in between.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the reason why you didn't, was there a reason why you didn't?
Because we're focused on commissioners. I mean, we thought, we didn't remember your statement from the last board meeting.
Gotcha.
And we've talked
All
about
right,
it a
so
couple times.
you're gonna get that.
Yeah, we'll get that to you.
If you just email it out.
We'll get that to all of you.
Appreciate it. The only other comment, is there like a meal allowance?
No, the way.
How does that work?
Yeah, the
How
way
do we do that?
the way we're set up is a reimbursement. So we get the actual receipt for the meal, and then we reimburse. Or here, it's put on a housing authority card in this instance.
Right.
We had at one point, I hear, in our organization, a $50 per diem, but that has not been in effect for years. And we actually discussed that with the staff. The problem I have with that is if you go to a place like DC, it's really hard to eat for $50 for the day.
Right.
But we did that in New Orleans, we stayed under 50.
Yeah, you're.
We did.
As a matter of fact, if you look.
Yeah, no, I was there, I know I didn't go over
Yeah.
50, sometimes I tried
Oh,
to go under.
so it's $50 a day to eat and you can
Yeah,
so like if you have one meal, like I see on here,
Yeah.
McCormick and Schmick's, Richmond, who's correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
So she
Yeah.
spent $50 on that meal.
Yeah, and we've got the receipts for that.
All right, so then
Yeah.
the rest of that day,
Whatever she purchased out of
You may have purchased out of pocket. But again, there's nothing to say she couldn't have been reimbursed for that. She just put in for that day,
for food.
for that amount, yes, for food.
Right. So I see on, it's October, okay. Cost is Friday, all right. What's the, okay. All right, yeah, if I can, I mean, we're starting to, do we have more conferences left for this year?
Yeah, well, I'm in the New Jersey League of Municipalities in Atlantic City next week. And that's also combined with the NJ Naro Housing Conference. And that's it for the year, I believe.
Isn't there a San Diego one?
That's coming up
That's in
next
the
year.
new year.
That's next year.
It's January.
Yeah.
So-
We're going to the municipality, other than you.
I'm going.
We could potentially
Right.
we're at like 12,000 now for the commissioners, plus yours is gonna be up there, right? Because you go to every one. We might topple like 40,000 bucks.
It's possible.
And what was the budget for it?
Emma, what is our budget? I don't remember what we put
I
in.
think it was like
Probably
35,
gonna go.
45.
120.
Emma, we can't hear you. I know you got off mute.
We have a travel and training budget of $35,000.
Okay. And do we have a budget for painting for the interior buildings?
No.
There's
No,
no.
there's no specific budget for painting of interior buildings. That's included in our maintenance.
And the reason why we haven't painted the buildings internally is because I was told we don't have any money.
We're running like crazy just to keep up with our leaking ceilings, our leaking pipes, and all of that. So if there's time, for example, I mentioned earlier, we're painting the doors at Adams and Monroe now. So we found a way to get a couple maintenance guys and we're going through and painting the doors.
Yeah, see, my thing is, and we'll get this at the end when all the money is tallied, but if I were to poll the residents of the housing authority and said, okay, you have $40,000, would you rather see all the buildings painted, which haven't been painted in a while, right? Or would you rather have our commissioners travel to all these cities? You know, you see what I'm saying? And that's where I'm hoping that.
I do, but I again fundamentally
And I know,
disagree, because it will cost pretty close to $1 million to paint all of our stairwells.
$1 million?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta go in and do prep work, you gotta fix what's broken, you gotta do all of that. We have a price on that. We actually bid it out at one point, maybe 4 years ago. So we got a price on that. But I will make this other point, that I believe strongly that it's penny wise and pound foolish to not train. If you don't train, you wind up in a position of a housing authority that's a troubled housing authority, like this housing authority has been. I see it as one of the main reasons this housing authority has failed over the years, is if you don't do training of commissioners and staff and know what's going on in our business, know what the best practices are, know what you should be doing, know what HUD's gonna be doing next year, that you fail. It's crucial that staff and, I believe, commissioners be trained to be a successful housing authority. We're going to go into a huge redevelopment project, and if we don't go and shake hands with the Housing Finance Agency people, with the people that are from Washington D.C. that are giving us these approvals, that we see, we shake their hand, we say hello, this is what we're doing, then we're not going to be successful. And I just believe training is absolutely crucial, and I think to compare it to should we not do any travel but we could paint one hallway is a false comparison.
Yeah, I mean, we'll agree to disagree. We're not gonna, you know, I just think that reason for past directors and leading us into trouble status is based on the decisions and actions that they went through. I don't know if those directors went to like all the training, we would have been in a different spot. The second point is the training that our commissioners are getting at these conferences, I don't think are impacting our day-to-day activities to the point that the money is being spent. And again, we're going to disagree.
I understand.
It's on the record. I'm just making those points. We can move on. If you could send that report tomorrow, I greatly appreciate it.
The only point that I would make contrary to that, though, Commissioner, is that it's not just the commissioners, it is
No, I get the staff. The staff,
I think it's crucial that the staff is trained.
I totally think the staff is ideal, and especially yourself.
Yeah.
And again, I made it from the beginning, if the commissioners want to go and they want to get that extra training, then it should be on their own dime.
Yeah.
I just personally don't think the impact, the money being spent for the commissioners to go is the value that we're getting back on a day-to-day operational strategic plan is not there. So that's just my opinion. I know people disagree, but I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew. Any further questions from the committees? No?
Motion.
We got a motion second?
We have a motion.
We did, motion and a second, yes.
Keep forgetting.
Time for vote? Anthony Forbes?
Rev?
Yes.
Andrew Impastato?
Yes.
Aaron Lewitt?
Yes.
Barbara Reyes?
Yes.
Michael Russo?
Aye.
James Sanford?
No.
Erica Seitzman?
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-1103, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to award a contract for preparation of a strategic plan for capital funds.
Motion.
Second?
Questions, concerns?
One question for the director.
Yes, Commissioner.
So this went out for public bid and we received bids for CVR Associates Inc. and EJP Consulting Group LLC, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, just a clarification, Commissioner, it wasn't a public bid, it was a request for proposals, which is somewhat different terminology. It is not a public bid under the New Jersey Local Public Contracts Law.
Thank you, Harold.
Okay.
Can we have, or can this commissioner have the bids or the responses for these two vendors?
Yeah, you mean the proposals they submitted? Sure.
Okay. And I will send you an email in writing for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions? Can we call the roll, Director?
Anthony Forbes?
Yes.
Andrew Impastato?
Yes.
Aaron Lewis? Yes. Barbara Reyes?
Yes.
Michael Russo?
Aye.
James Sanford?
No.
Erica Seitzman?
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-1104, resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to approve amendments to the authority procurement policy.
Motion.
Second.
Harold, would you like to give a little overall about this prior to asking if anyone has any questions or concerns?
Well, I'd be glad to. 2 months ago, we adopted an entirely new procurement policy for the authority. And I think all of us were very happy that we had come to such success. I regard it as one of the best I've ever seen. At the meeting, when it was being discussed, before it was voted on, Commissioner Impastato pointed out that he thought there should be an incorporation of the people who are on the special review committee for the developer selection, which is provided for in an amendment that the authority had adopted in February of 2023, to reflect that those individuals would be covered by the ethics rules of the procurement policy. And everybody thought that was a good point, and we agreed to prepare an amendment to the procurement policy to reflect that. And that is the provision that you see in the amended version on page 27, where it says that those members of that committee would be covered by Section 9 of the main body of the procurement policy. I believe, Commissioner Impastato, that reflects the concern that you raised and addresses it.
Okay, so now that he's given an overall, does anyone have any questions?
Well, no, there's one more thing.
Oh, sure, sorry, Harold.
That was actually a question addressed to Commissioner Impastato to make sure that I got it right.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
In addition, upon reviewing what had been done from the floor at the meeting 2 months ago, I became very convinced that a provision put into the resolution before it was actually adopted, but not part of what had originally been presented, was put in the wrong place. We have a provision about what has to be reviewed in a contract, and it includes a number of things, including a New Jersey political contribution form. Those documents in 17.12 on page 17 of the contract review process, the contract approval and review process, is where the change that was put forward from the floor really should be. What was put forward was an indication that there, in addition to the New Jersey political contribution form, be information about federal political contributions. And assuming that the authority is willing to undertake that additional responsibility, which is not a matter of law, it would be a matter of policy, that's fine. I have no comment about that. But to have put it in the ethics provision, I think is an inappropriate placing. It's not so much an ethics provision as it is a contract review provision. And obviously the existing provisions already have a bunch of things to be reviewed, including the New Jersey political contribution provision. So before you tonight also, on page 17, is a an amendment to put the requirement that public information or a form, there is no federal form for it, by the way, and it's not easily searchable because it's done by candidate, not by contributor. And the authority will have to undertake to prepare how they're going to do it. It should be moved to 17.12, where it would be a document that would be reviewed with all other reviewed items when a bid or a proposal is received.
So,
And then in addition, sorry?
no, Harold, I was just gonna ask for a clarification there. So, long and short of it is, we originally put it in the wrong place, you wanna move it to the appropriate place with the New Jersey provision, and we then, and then we have to create the form because there's no current form that exists in federal, in that policy for federal contributors. Is that
correct?
Is that kind of the long and short of it?
That's the short of it. Thank you for distilling lawyerism into reality.
No problem. Thank you,
And
Howard.
then the only other, you're welcome. Thank you. The only other thing is to do some final edits in terms of pointing out that it was adopted in September and amended in November, both on the cover page and on the interior page that has the specific developer selection policy.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, concerns?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask Harold some questions.
Harold, Commissioner Sanford has some questions for you.
So, getting back to your comments, and your comments with Commissioner Impostato's suggestions, I'm going back to page 27, the amendment to procurement policy with the respect to the selection of developers for HUD-RAD repositioning. So, if I heard and understood you correctly, the members of that selection evaluation committee, which for our housing authority is the special procurement committee, are those committee members going to be filing financial disclosure forms?
It has nothing to do with filing a financial disclosure form. That's a completely different subject. It has to do with a state process that is applicable to people who are public officials. This has nothing to do with that. It is our policy with respect to people who are on our committee. They're completely different.
Okay. So, just to help me to understand, what is the effect of this policy on that committee?
Section 9 of the procurement policy on ethics and contracting would apply to them.
Where's that? What page is that?
Oh, it's an entire section, Commissioner. It starts on page 4 and runs to page 5.
Well, just can you break it down to Commissioner Sanford's point? Will the people that are on that committee have to disclose, they'll have to disclose where their financial?
No. They will have to disclose, like any other vendor, if in fact they made a contribution to a federal candidate who would be a congressman, a U.S. senator, president, vice president. That's the only provision
Well,
that
that would
we're
apply to proposers. It wouldn't apply to the members of this committee. I think we're drifting from what the
both things that they are getting.
Policy provides for. The policy essentially provides that people who are operating on behalf of the authority and reviewing materials will do them ethically. The idea of any kind of financial disclosure has nothing whatsoever to do with anybody who sits on any group or committee of the authority other than the publicly appointed officials who are commissioners, where the state has created a requirement that those individuals file a something completely different from the question of ethics in public contracting that's provided for in the procurement policy.
Okay, so thank you, Harold. That helps me to understand and base this next question, which is when I was bringing these subjects up, I would like the 5 to 7 members of the Committee for Evaluation of RFQs and RFPs to file a financial disclosure form. That is the objective of trying to...
Well, you may like that, Commissioner, but that you'd have to talk to the legislature about that.
So, if I may finish...
Legislature is the one that creates financial disclosure forms and has their forms filed with the state, not the authority.
If I may finish, Harold, that was the discussion that we were having, at least that I was suggesting. That is the objective that I would like to have within this section. And just to clarify a little more with context, back in the summer of this year, I had also asked for this evaluation committee to be subject to some kind of disclosure rules. And at the time, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Harold, but at the time, I was left with the impression that because this procurement policy had already been adopted and already been established early in the year, that was the time to do it. But now we have another opportunity to address it, and that's why I'm bringing it up again. So with respect to the New Jersey State Legislature, we have the ability, this is our procurement policy, we have the ability to make amendments to it. So how can this housing authority make an amendment so that these 5 to 7 members are subject to a financial disclosure form?
Well, 2 comments. One, what was actually done from the floor is not what you just described.
Yeah, it was a very long night.
To that extent, that just underscores, in my opinion, further the fact that what was done from the floor needs to be clarified.
Yes.
Secondly, if you think that should be done, then I suggest that you make a motion now to change what is being presented to you to reflect what you need done. See whether or not you get a second, and see whether or not you get support.
Okay.
Commissioner, can you walk me through a hypothetical? Because I'm trying to think about it in my head to see if it is warranted. Because I understand why you would ask, like, what one of those members, like, potentially, what is the harm if they had a financial interest or a donation to, how would it impact their decisions?
Two different things. So, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah, no, it's good.
But a financial disclosure has nothing to do with your contribution to an elected official. A financial disclosure has everything to do with your personal finances, and that becomes public. So, for example, as a council person, I have to disclose where I work, what kind of money I make,
real estate,
what kind of real estate I have, what kind of gifts I get. That is a very personal financial disclosure. In the state of New Jersey, we have ELEC, which covers financial contributions to elected officials.
Right.
They're 2 very, very different things.
Right.
I don't know, and I don't want to put words in the commissioner's mouth, I don't know what he's trying to achieve.
That's what I'm asking.
Does he want to know that Jane Doe, who's on the committee, makes $50,000 versus $250,000? Or does he want to know, does Jane Doe contribute to the U.S. Senator? That's the question.
Thank
I don't
you
know
for explaining that. If Commissioner, if you could, walk us through a hypothetical where it would do harm to that person's decision negatively against the housing authority.
Well, okay, so
if you want to,
Commissioner Russo is correct. They're 2 entirely different things. And as we've had this discussion with Harold, the contributions, the political contributions, that seems to be covered by the ethics policy. So I am not talking about the contributions with regards to this committee. And so to clarify, it is about a financial disclosure form.
Okay.
The reasoning for that financial disclosure form is that just as throughout all the state of New Jersey, through the city of Hoboken, through this housing authority, it's not just public officials, it's whether they're appointed or elected. It is also individuals with, that are key to very large decisions. And in particular, the reasoning is that this committee, the Special Procurement Committee, or the Committee for Evaluation of RFQs and RFPs, is going to be selecting a very important vendor, which will be assisting the Housing Authority with a project that is, at the moment, calculated to be $800 million. Right? So,
Am I correct, before you continue,
Sure,
am I
sure.
correct in saying that they're going to be picking it, but then they come to us for a final vote?
Correct,
So
yes.
they're just going through them and then bringing
Yeah.
us
Offering a suggestion.
the suggestion. So they're suggesting,
But
they're
you
not
said,
picking them.
you're potentially saying they could be influenced
well, it's a, so yes, it's a.
to make
it's a
that
very-
suggestion.
And it's a very influential suggestion. So my point is that all of us on this board and many officials, the director is not a public official, he's not appointed, he is not elected.
I file that report every year.
Yeah, and you do. Our CFO.
That's not true. For purposes of the New Jersey filing that is required, he constitutes a public official.
Oh, he does constitute it. So Emil, as a CFO, also constitutes a public official?
No.
No, okay. But he does file a financial disclosure, doesn't he?
Not that I know.
I'm not sure which he you're talking about. If you're talking about the executive
He's
director,
speaking
he's
about
required
Emil.
under the law to do so.
The CFO,
Yes,
Emil.
he's
He
speaking
is
about.
not required.
I'm just having trouble understanding how you're equating to someone's personal financial position would influence their decision-making. For example, if someone makes $50,000 a year, has no real estate, has no other holdings, has no investments, how that person being on that committee would have, making that decision, that there would be some kind of concern there, versus someone who's making $2 million a year, has multiple holdings, multiple investments, multiple.
Yeah.
How are you?
But
I don't
could
understand
see-
where you're going with that.
That's why I asked for the hypothetical,
Yeah.
but as I'm thinking about it, a potential developer could gift one of these members of the committee a speaking engagement at a company for $100,000, and there could be a bias there. Potential, I mean, they're crazy hypothetical, but.
Sure, no, I get it.
And I don't think by having them disclose it is a bad thing. They don't ask for the money. it's just where you work, what your real estate is in the state of New Jersey.
Percentage
have you
of
received
homes.
any
Yeah,
gifts?
sure.
So it's not that personal where the person's like, I have to put, I make $25,000 a year. So I don't think it would.
I really don't want to make things up. The financial disclosure, I'm using the financial disclosure form that we all have to fill out as a baseline. That's it. I mean, it's at a very minimum, that's what everybody on this board does.
So you're asking for that form to be filled out by every member of the committee?
Of this committee for the evaluation of RFQs and RFPs, because they've already, for example, made an influential decision, which is they've received the RFQs, and then they qualified all of the vendors. They then sent recommendations to this board, and then this board acted upon that resolution to qualify those developers. So
yeah, I'm just in an added step here and disclosing this, I don't see as an issue. It's adding another layer to protect ourselves. I'm almost 100% sure that none of these people have a conflict. Well, I guess I wouldn't know. But
Whether they disclose it or not, if they're gonna be crooked, they're gonna be crooked regardless.
Again, I just want to make sure everybody understands that this does not determine any conflicts.
No.
It does not determine anything like that. It's just a disclosure. That's all it is.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
if,
So if that's,
if we don't know that a person, like the example I said,
right,
developer gave a gift as a speaking engagement to one of these people for $100,000.
Right.
We don't know that right now.
Right.
At least we're asking them. If they're gonna lie, they're gonna lie. But at least we're asking them.
But what is that disclosure form going to tell us? Because even if they did it, they're not disclosing that, are they?
Yeah, gifts, gifts
gift?
for speaking engagements on there.
So it is, as Commissioner Impastato said, it is just an added level of protection. And it's not meant to drill down into any specific person's situation. It's simply applying the same standard that applies to the commissioners to this evaluation committee.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I do have one point that I'd like to make about this.
Okay.
Certainly, this is not under the New Jersey law. This is something that you would craft yourself. And if this were to be part of the policy, you have to realize that it will apply to all of the members of this special committee, including staff members of the authority who are not public officials.
And volunteers.
And as Commissioner Russo pointed out, the information requested for a public official, which is probably the price of being a public official, is information that's quite invasive.
No, it's not. No, I disagree.
No, wait a minute.
You don't get, it does not ask you for salary. It only asks, where are you employed? Do you own any real estate in New Jersey? You have to declare those two things. There's no personal questions, and then any gifts you have received, speaking engagements, travel gifts by anybody.
I'm looking at it right now. It's gifts, reimbursements of expenses, aggregate value exceeding $400. It's addresses and sources of any fees and honorariums. It is listing of all addresses and business organizations and the percentages that you own in those business organizations.
Right.
It's asking you for all your employment, and it's asking you for all your real estate holdings.
Right.
So, and the percentage of that real estate holding that you have. So, for someone who does not have a real estate holding, does not get gifts, does not get honorariums, you're right, it is non-invasive at all. However, if it is someone who does get any of those things, if they receive that stuff as their primary source of income, you are disclosing all of your income. You are disclosing all of your property. You are disclosing where all that property is.
Totally get it.
So again,
then my response to that is, just as we were commissioners and we made a decision to disclose that or not.
Right.
If you can't disclose that, then you shouldn't be on the committee.
But why is that fair? Or why
Okay, well,
trust
let
the
me interrupt there in return, Commissioner Impastato. I understand your position, but the fact of the matter is that you have to understand, if you were to authorize this, it would apply to your staff members. I have no idea what your staff members' reaction would be to that. We struggled to find a committee that would be appropriate under this special circumstance. I think you'd be struggling further if people are asked to disclose that kind of information at a staff level.
And on a volunteer level. I think this is adding a layer of bureaucracy to folks that don't make the final decision. They are doing a recommendation. And to ask ad hoc committees to go to that level of disclosure in their personal lives, I think is going to be a real issue on pulling committees like this together.
I just think with the nature and the history of our authority and the corruption that has occurred in and around our authority, I don't think it's that crazy of an idea to just ask for a simple, and maybe we change it, maybe we can tailor make it so that you just list certain things, or you don't need to put percentages, but just to declare that a gift wasn't given from a developer that we're going to pick. I don't see it as a hard ask. I mean, I'm okay with if we just go to a vote and we just vote it up or down.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion, and I think Commissioner Pacella.
Stanford, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
We love
But
Stanford.
just one last question on this. So, again, I'm just using the financial disclosure form that we fill out as commissioners as a reference point. Harold, is there a,
Can you please keep the conversations to a minimum? If we'd like to have conversations, go outside.
as a compromise, so that it's not too invasive, is there any lesser standard or lesser disclosure form that we could use as a template?
Well, I happen to think that the provisions of Section 9 achieve that goal, because it sets standards on what people could have in terms of a relationship to anybody that they would be voting on.
So Section 9, ethics in public contracting and public trust.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was the original thing that we just added that.
Yes.
Right.
That was the.
Yeah.
Well,
now that I'm,
The whole reason why I propose that we do it this way is because it was suggested that we extend the application of the ethics provisions. And there was this question about whether or not we use the term agent. I didn't like the word agent because I thought that brought in a whole bunch of red herrings. So what I'm doing is applying the ethics provisions, and I think that's, it's not a compromise. I think it's a very good provision.
So,
and I think that as the executive director said, a volunteer could live with that. I'm not sure that many volunteers are going to live with filing a form, which at some point could become public under OPRA.
So Harold, in my example, my hypothetical, if a member of this special committee was given a gift from one of the developers for a speaking engagement or created some type of conflict, they would have to disclose it under this, right?
Well, not only that, I think if one of the developers were to have given a gift to a member of the committee, the member of the committee shouldn't be on the committee.
We would kick them off.
But, yeah, right, that's what I'm, so how would that action, these line items make it clear that you have to disclose it?
Absolutely.
Okay. As long as
the developer always has to disclose it.
Right, I'm more concerned with the, but I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so-
I'd like to just make the motion, and I hope Commissioner Pacella still seconds it, to do the financial disclosure. That is what I would like, is the financial disclosure form. So if you could help me out, Harold, I would like to make a motion to amend the amendment to the procurement policy with respect to selection of developers for HUD repositioning, section committee for the evaluation of RFQs and RFPs, that the members of that evaluation committee are required to file a financial disclosure form consistent with what the Hoboken Housing Authority Commissioners file with the state of New Jersey. Would that be a fair statement for a resolution?
Well, I'm not going to interpret your intention, but it sounds like a resolution that could be considered.
Okay, so that is my resolution.
I'll second it for a vote.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Director, could you call the vote?
Anthony Forbes,
Yes.
Andrew Impastato,
No.
Aaron Lewitt,
Yes.
Barbara Reyes,
No.
Michael Russo,
No.
James Sanford,
Yes.
Erica Seitzman.
No.
Resolution does not pass.
Good process, that was a good process, though.
Thank you.
I thought that was, everybody,
Okay,
everybody, that was good.
So we've had already synopsis of what this was, what the policy was. We went over that. We just put the motion on the floor. It didn't pass. Now can we move forward with actually approving the amendments to the procurement policy that's in front of us?
So just Two small things that I would like to make a motion on, and because it's been such a good process so far, I've always been against the practice of piggybacking, and there are sections 21, cooperative purchasing, and section 22, otherwise known as piggybacking, and I would like a motion to consider amending this policy to not allow cooperative purchasing and not allow piggybacking.
So there's a motion, is there a second? There's no second.
Okay.
And you said there was one more thing?
Those were the two
Earlier?
combined. I combined them together just so we're out.
Thank you. So now can we move forward with approving or?
Motion.
Second.
Vote. Anthony Forbes,
Yes.
Andrew Impastato.
Yes.
Aaron Lewitt,
Yes.
Barbara Reyes.
Yes.
Michael Russo.
Aye.
James Sanford.
No.
Erica Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-1105, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to adopt a policy on public discussion of closed session deliberations.
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns?
Yes. Harold, could you help us to understand the purpose of this resolution?
The purpose of this resolution is to address a vague area of New Jersey law. Some people are under the impression that discussion of closed session topics is some actionable legal issue in and of itself. And in many states that's true. We did a global, that would be every state and various districts, search. And for example, in California, it's a crime to talk about closed session topics. That's not true in New Jersey, however. There are cases in New Jersey that reflect that some people, including judges, think that it is inappropriate. And there have been people who are sanctioned for having talked about something in closed session, including by judges. But it is a very spotty process. What is accepted is that in general, it's inappropriate to discuss closed session materials unless ultimately they would be released to the public. And what many places in New Jersey have found to deal with that is to establish a policy such as this, that as a matter of the board policy, which could be sanctioned under certain circumstances by the board, it's inappropriate to talk about closed session discussions unless the board as a group decides at some point that closed session is no longer subject to confidentiality and can be released to the public. We haven't had a policy like that up till now, so in the past, if someone did some discussion of that, it was something that was vague in terms of what was proprietary, what was public, whether or not it was appropriate to have happened, and what the remedy would be was not resolved. The purpose of this going forward, and only going forward prospectively, would be to state the policy of the authority so that it's clear if it were to happen in the future.
So, in understanding the resolution, it says, whereas there is no definitive law in the state of New Jersey on this issue, and you just explained that you've done an exhaustive research on this, are there any housing authorities that have a policy like this In New Jersey?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
So this resolution is potentially uncharted territory.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
No?
There are plenty of circumstances reported in New Jersey where situations like this occurred. You asked me about housing authority.
Yeah, I'm asking.
But there definitely are cases that went up several levels in New Jersey on issues like this. And quite frankly, in most cases, the way it gets resolved is that the offending party apologizes.
So, is there a policy out there that a public housing authority in the state of New Jersey has adopted that this housing authority can use as a template?
Okay, you've now asked the same question you asked before, and I've answered it before, but I'll give it to you one more time.
Okay.
The answer is I have no idea.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking the same question again differently is because if we're going to adopt policy, then why not adopt a policy that is consistent with other housing authorities?
Because maybe we want to be a trailblazer, we want to start this policy, and maybe other housing authorities may follow in suit.
Well,
That's my opinion.
okay, then that would lead me to the next question, which is why this policy is even needed.
It's just a precautionary policy that we're taking, that we're doing it in the event that closed session discussion is released in public. I think it's important that we have something in place where we can,
Hold each other accountable.
Hold each other accountable.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give you an example from the council side of things. There were closed sessions that we've had in the city of Hoboken, so something very close to home here, right? Those closed session discussions wound up in a news report, right? Closed session materials, letters, wound up in a news report, right? So I think it's just a smart policy to make sure that anything that we discuss in closed session is released at an appropriate time so that we don't put the housing authority in a precarious situation, right? So, for example, if it was a lawsuit, right? Something as simple as a trip and fall, right? We talk about the potential of a settlement in that lawsuit for a trip and fall, but the word gets out that settlement agreement, we talked about $50,000 versus $500,000. We don't want the person who's suing the city to know that we had that discussion, right? Or, in this case, the housing authority. So it's just a precautionary thing, at least in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Take action is a law, we gotta know.
Fair
If you take action in closed session, that's the law.
And it becomes public at a certain time. I think the lawyer stated that.
That's what we're,
No, he said no, he just said no.
No, he said that closed session, when we have closed session, that it does become public at a certain time.
If you take action.
Correct.
Well, there are some closed session discussions that can remain closed forever.
Right, because you didn't take action.
There are others that become public. I think what the comment is that there are circumstances where after the closed session, the authority comes out into open session and adopts a resolution. And if that's the case, the resolution is public, but the closed session discussion is not necessarily public.
I have a question. It says here, determination of the board to issue an oral or written warning or reprimanding could result in further recommend. I would like to see.
I'm sorry, Andrew, could you just restate that?
Yeah, so my question is, I would like to be more specific to the potential appropriate action. I would like to see in there two things. One, it'd be retroactive. And two, potential, I don't know what the word is, expulsion of the board? Is that possible?
Not in my opinion. The only person that has the right to remove a member of the Housing Authority Board is the so-called appointing authority of that commissioner. And it depends upon who made the appointment as to who the review would be made by. That's in the statute.
Could we put a recommendation to the appointing authority for expulsion? Is that the right, I don't know if that's the right word. Yeah.
Or removal?
No, I understand what you're saying. That would be up to, again, an amendment to what you're being presented with. But the answer, Commissioner Moscato, is yes, you could propose that.
So that's, and what about the retroactive? If it is proven that,
I'm concerned about retroactive. The retroactive law is always subject to significant challenge, and so would a policy. For someone to try to argue that something that's already occurred would be subject to a resolution that's only being adopted now, I think that would jeopardize the strength of this policy.
yeah, my only pushback would be that the actual action that they did was already breaking the bylaws of the board, right? Or no, are we saying this is, like, as it stands right now?
There's no bylaw provision to address
Oh, okay. So as it stands right now, you can discuss whatever you want in closed session, it's just not recommended. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure it could be whatever you want. There may be things that you discuss which independently of this policy or other New Jersey law might be inappropriate.
Got it. So yeah, I would like to make the recommendation for recommendation of expulsion to the appointing authority.
I'll second that.
Director, can you call the vote?
Okay, so let me just get the language here. The last part of it says, could result in further recommendation for appropriate action. I would propose to say, which could include referral to the appointing authority of any commissioner.
Say it again, Harold?
Can we put that word expulsion?
Give me a second to write the rest of it, and then I'll read it all to you.
Issue an oral or written warning or reprimand and could result in further recommendations for appropriate action, including,
Which could include reference to the appropriate appointing authority for removal of a commissioner.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, good.
Great, so that's the motion that's on the floor?
Motion, yeah.
Well, it would be a motion to amend what has already been introduced.
Okay.
To introduce that additional language recommended by Commissioner Moscato.
So we vote on that,
The amendment
then we
first.
go and vote on the new resolution.
if it passes,
Correct, if it passes.
Yes.
Okay, so,
the amendment first, Director.
correct. So this is a vote for the amendment as Harold read it out loud.
We ready?
Yes.
Anthony Forbes,
Yes.
Andrew Impastato,
Yes.
Aaron Lewitt,
Yes.
Barbara Reyes.
Yes.
Michael Russo.
Aye.
James Sanford.
No.
Erica Seitzman.
Yes.
Now on.
Okay, now can we go back and vote on the resolution with the amendment?
Motion.
Well, wait, there's discussion, I have a question now. Now that this language has been added, there's a lot of talk about violation, expulsion, reprimand, removal. It seems to me that if someone is going to be adversely affected and possibly removed, that a Rice notice would be necessary.
Absolutely not. First of all, Rice doesn't apply anymore. That case has been overruled for quite some time. And the Rice notice is only with respect to employment situations, not commissioners. The concept of Rice has been reincorporated in a separate case, and all it says is that if action is going to be taken, there be a notice to the employee of what that is. It doesn't apply to this at all.
I would beg to differ with you.
I'm a lawyer for the authority. I'm giving my opinion of that, and you can differ with me, but that's not going to change my opinion.
I'm not trying to change your opinion, Harold, but I am trying to share with you a different perspective, which is when I was removed from this Housing Authority Board, I did consult an attorney,
And at that time, I believe Rice was the applicable law. So we can address it with whatever Rice is, that the commissioner is an employee.
Can I just clarify something?
You go take a look at.
Yeah, you were, just to be clear, and this is how I understand it, your term ended, right?
That is not correct. I went into holdover status, and then I was removed from the board.
I'm sorry. I think you were on the council, right? That's not what happened. What happened was there was a holdover status, and then there was a different commissioner appointed by the city, actually by the city council. It was by the city council, and then you were reappointed under the provision that allows for the mayor's appointment to this board. So you were never removed by the city council. You were not reappointed because someone else was reappointed in your place. So, and again, not that it matters, you were here or you weren't here. Is that clear though? Because I think it's important to understand the differentiation between the two.
So, without getting too much into the weeds, I'm going to, I think we should agree to disagree on this point. I argue the complete opposite, that I was removed by the Hoboken City Council. And that's my position, you shared your position. That is adjacent to this discussion about going forward. If someone's going to be removed from a board, then I think when Harold was talking about how Rice was supplanted, whatever the process should be now, when an employee or a public official is being told they have transgressed and it's possible that you are going to be removed from your employment or from your board, what notice needs to be sent to that person?
Commissioner, just again,
It's not, I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you. I think you're just confused as to the understanding of how commissioners get appointed or in fact removed. This board, this commission, has no authority to remove anyone who sits here as a commissioner. This is a policy that we're putting in place on how we internally will handle someone who is, in our opinion, violating that policy. We can very much simply issue an oral reprimand. We can very much do a written reprimand. We could just grab you on the side one day and say, hey, Andrew, you shouldn't have said that, right? This has given us the ability to use this policy to make sure our commissioners are not putting the housing authority in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form. This will never, can never, remove a commissioner from this board.
Clear. Only the appointing authority.
The appointing authority, however, can do that. So I think you're going down a rabbit hole where you don't necessarily need to, because it's not this board that would ever remove one of us. It's the appointing authority that will do that. This is really more of an internal protection so that, like I said, Commissioner Seitzman doesn't go out and say, oh, we're going to settle with Joe Schmo for $50,000 and he gets wind of it, right? Those are problems that occur not only in authorities, but other appointed boards, other municipal councils, all kinds of different places, right? So this is protecting our authority to make sure that we don't go down that road. And if someone does go down that road, we now have a policy in place to help them to understand that they did something wrong and that we can grade that reprimand, whether it's an oral, written warning, or we recommend to the appointing authority that someone should be removed from this board. Doesn't mean we do it, means that authority will do it.
I understand. I understand everything very clearly with what's going on. I've been on.
But you the only reason I said it that way is because you misspoke a few times.
I did not misspeak.
You did.
I spoke intentionally. We disagree.
Yeah,
we disagree on the content.
Yeah, listen, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to facts. Facts are facts.
Neither are you.
Right, I know. My facts are clear.
My point is that this policy, as currently envisioned, is somehow going to trigger an action that the appointing authority may or may not do. Is that fair? Because why would you issue a suggestion or a letter recommend or a suggestion for removal or expulsion to the appointing authority? But then what does the appointing authority do? There's no
They have
policy.
the right to remove the commissioner.
Okay, well, what is that right? If you're
Well,
creating
the
a policy.
appointing authority has to follow the statute. You might want to look at the statute, Commissioner. It's very clear that the appointing authority has to follow a statutory procedure.
I do know the statute.
This referral would simply be something that could have them look at the issue, but they have to address the issue.
But then shouldn't this resolution?
And I still want to go back. I appreciate Commissioner Russo's explication of the various differences here, and that was what I was going to say, so thank you. But I still want to go back and point out to you that the case that you want to cite, if you want to look at something, is Kane Federation of Teachers versus Ada Morell, 233 NJ 566, which was decided June 21st of 2018. It applies to employees under certain circumstances, and it severely limits what previously was called a rice notice power in the hands of an employee. But it has absolutely nothing to do with a commissioner.
Okay. Then, from a perspective of liability, this policy could create a situation where an adverse act is taken against an individual, and it would thus expose the housing authority to liability. Because, yeah, anybody can come together and have an opinion that someone transgressed, but that's not necessarily based in fact. What's being talked about that's the opinion of the housing authority. So I don't think from a position of liability, we should expose ourselves to that.
I think as chairwoman, I think that's your opinion, and that's why you have a right to vote for the policy or not. So,
Or make a motion to do
I'll make a motion to remove it. I don't know at this point, what do we want to do?
I would make a motion to table. I don't
Okay,
disagree.
so there's a motion on the table, on the floor to table this resolution. Do I have a second? No, I don't. Okay, so now could we move forward with voting on the resolution as amended?
Motion.
Well,
Yeah, we did that already.
I would just like,
I
would just like council to address my question about liability. Is the housing authority creating liability?
Harold, can you let them know if there's any
Well, the
liability?
housing authority has liability in everything it does.
Thank you.
That's why it has a council. That's why it follows very careful procedures. There's as much liability, I would offer, in the case of revealing confidential information that was discussed in closed session as there would be in this. The statute is very clear on how an actual removal would occur. And I think that statute, followed correctly by the appointing authority, would extinguish any potential for liability.
So, but with establishing and following careful procedures, that doesn't seem to be in the wording of this resolution. Are we creating a groundwork or framework for council to create a policy, or is this paragraph
No, that's
the only
the
paragraph?
policy. And I don't think it's vague at all. I think it's very clear. And I think you're, again, drifting into never, never.
Well, wait, an inappropriate action, what is that?
I think if you just don't talk about closed session dialogue, we're good.
Yeah, I don't think that we have to
What's
go
the
through
big
every
deal?
single
Right?
word on this resolution. We have spent over 20 minutes on this resolution. We've basically gone over every word that's on the policy. What else is left? Harold, is there anything else
There's no
left?
definitive
We can be
law.
held liable, just like we can be held liable for anything else. I don't think we've spent more time on a resolution that really affects our residents as we have on this. It's frustrating.
There's no definitive law on this resolution. This is
You
completely,
plan on violating the policy?
I am so confused.
that's not the issue here.
Okay, so you have a right. I think every question that you have asked has been answered by our lawyer. It has been answered by Councilman Russo, Commissioner Russo. I think everyone has answered every one of your questions. I don't know what else is left. I would like for us to move forward with with a vote at this time,
I don't know why you're
Director.
getting frustrated. This has been a very informative conversation.
Yeah, but we do very informative conversations for things that pertain to nothing that really affects our residents. It's frustrating. Maybe we should have spent more time on this, on our revitalization program or our redevelopment. Let's spend that time. Let's do that. Let's participate in committees. Let's do that so that we can show that we're really